I did my whole pitch, right? I was like, this is what I do. These are my case studies. Bear in mind that up till that point, I've never gotten paid. He asked me, so what do you charge? I was like, I was speechless. So I said the first number that came to my mind. I was like, $1,250 a month. Immediately he said, yeah, that sounds reasonable. How do you receive payment? I was like, PayPal. And he was like, all right, what's your PayPal email? I'll let you know. Because I know PayPal. Create a PayPal account.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the 4Media Uncut podcast. Today, it's been a minute, guys. It's been a freaking minute.
You miss us. That's why you're here. You miss us.
Yeah, we are not fresh off the Agency Founders event. It's been a few weeks, but before the Agency Founders event, we had some amazing fire guests. The next 4 podcasts are all absolute fire. We're still honestly geeking about how amazing they were. But today's guests are Lewis and Josh from the Chronos Agency, all the way from Malaysia.
Is Singapore in Malaysia?
I think is Singapore Malaysia?
Fuck, I think he fucked
don't
that
know.
one up. It's Singapore. That's a fact. Wherever Singapore is, that's where it is.
Well, I'm looking it up.
Anyways, they got 80 team members. Here's the crazy part. I actually used to watch YouTube videos of Josh talking about email marketing 3.5 years ago. So he's one of the OGs in the space. He's been doing email marketing and focused on that for a long time. It's pretty cool because you get to see 2 guys in another country. It is Singapore because their salaries are super high over there. I remember that.
Yeah,
so,
Singapore is a country. My bad.
Yeah. Nah, bro. Let the people
Let's
hear
let
what
it
it's
run.
like.
I'm just dumb.
They're
They're from Malaysia, and now they live in Singapore.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense. But yeah, it's cool because you get to see 2 guys who left their lives, their family, their security, went on their own, and completely made something out of thin air and some really shitty Wi-Fi. So with that being said, hope you guys enjoy this episode.
Josh,
Kiki.
Louis, is it Luis or Lewis?
Lewis.
Yeah.
Josh and Lewis.
Yes, sir.
What are your actual names? Because they're not Josh and Lewis, right?
It is. It's actually Joshua Chin Junlin. Yeah.
No way.
Really?
I have a fucking long name. Yeah.
Like in Singapore? That's what,
yeah, on my passport it says Joshua Chin
that's
Junlin.
crazy.
I don't have that though. My mom gave it to me halfway through. We call it, I don't know, in Malaysia or Singapore they call it a Christian name. I have no idea why.
Yeah, we're not even Christian.
Yeah, but my Chinese name is
that's
Dio
so funny.
Ziwang, so it's super Chinese. So I usually don't bring it up.
It's like the English version of our Chinese names.
Yeah.
That's like our last name.
Yeah, I always feel like whenever I met Asian people that came, they had a Christian name or whatever. It was always a very
Anthony.
traditional American, like an old sounding name,
John.
like almost like an old person's name. But Josh and Lewis are not that bad.
Like
I have
Tony.
girls named Esther and
Every one of my
Eunice or
Asian
some
friends
shit,
is
Eunice,
named
yeah.
David.
Irene.
yeah, Irene. It's always an old person kind of,
Yeah.
but it's funny. I like it. That's awesome. Very cool. So you guys flew in from Singapore.
We did.
How long was your actual total journey?
We flew 18 hours to New York straight,
Wow.
and then 2.5.
Did
3
you at
hours
least have a laid back
Atlanta.
seat or anything, or just standard economy?
No, thank goodness we took business. So
Nice.
It was a lie flat
Ballers.
bed. It was.
Stretch a little.
Oh man,
Nice.
dude, it was so much more comfortable than what we used to take in premium economy. You could lean back a little bit, but that's as much as it gets. Imagine being in that position for 18 hours.
Oh,
right?
I've
just
been in
like
it.
this.
Yeah.
All the time.
No, I
Terrible.
I haven't been
Terrible.
for 18 hours, but I've been on some long flights, and yeah.
I think my longest is here to Dubai, which is 13 and a half.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah, I've never. I think I've always stopped over in Europe somewhere. So that's been my longest single. But
Yeah.
But no matter what, you'll hold the record for the longest flight to get to Atlanta.
100%.
I
Yeah.
don't- It's not going to get longer.
I can't
than
remember if I flew. No, I
Maybe Australia would be longer.
Yeah?
Yeah. Australia.
that. Damn it.
there's
Yeah.
direct flights from LA to Australia, right?
There are. Yeah.
Yeah.
LA
That's
to
crazy.
Australia. Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
crazy.
But thank you again for coming.
Yeah.
Of course.
I know you guys are here for the event and stuff, but you came
Yeah.
to the office. We're super excited to have you.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah.
Very
Very
interesting background. So I was just telling Josh, I was like, how many years ago have you been how many years have you been posting content for? About
2-3 years, I think.
Okay, cool.
Properly. 2-3 years. Yeah.
Yeah. So probably 3 years ago, I'd say I was
Mm.
watching
Oh.
some videos of him in his room.
Amazing.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, right. And
That's insane.
I was like, hey. I recognize this name. Like when Tommy introed us, I was like, Chronos
Yeah.
Agency. I started thinking, I'm like, where have I seen this guy? And I started looking. I'm like, I used to watch this guy's videos with like his Chronos Agency banner.
I know.
Oh,
They had
so long
Clavio
ago.
partner on it.
Yeah.
I was like,
The banner.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I was like, that's crazy, man. So it's cool. I didn't even know you existed, honestly. Until
Exactly.
Most people don't.
He's
By the
here.
way, this is his debut podcast.
Oh, it is.
No way.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Oh,
Congrats,
that's true though. That's why I'm a
Nice.
little nervous today.
First,
Congrats, Zach. Congrats.
first podcast.
But that's cool. So like, give us a background of you two. You know, like, you've always lived in Singapore, or
Yep.
did you live in China first, moved to Singapore? Like, what did that look like?
So we grew up in Malaysia. We were primary school classmates. So we go way back. We met
Yeah.
when we were 7 years old.
Wow.
Yeah,
Like best friends?
kind of. We hung out a lot, and
Way too much.
a bit too much. A bit too much.
Yeah.
We left home when we were 12 years old. Went to Singapore. Stayed in Singapore for about 10 plus years now. 10,
Yeah.
12, 13.
Half of a lifetime.
Yeah, half of our lives.
Wow.
Stayed in dorm rooms for the whole time. 10
Yep.
years in dorm rooms since we were 12.
Wow.
So up till 2019, like 2 years into Chronos, we were living in dorm rooms. And
So what does
it
that
was
mean?
Great.
Like as far as like you're living in dorm rooms, meaning you were like sharing a bathroom with people and stuff like that.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow.
It's like,
exactly.
what's the
Sure.
layout? What's the layout exactly?
So in my hostel, we would share a room with either
roommate.
three. Yeah, we would have 3 other roommates or 1 other roommate.
And you all shared like a bathroom, and you just had like a small like
Oh,
almost
it's like a common bathroom, right? So you have like
Yeah.
a bathroom for each level of the
floor.
dorm. Yeah.
And did you have like bunk beds or something, or you had regular
Nah,
beds?
we had regular beds.
Okay, that's good.
He's like,
Thank-
yeah.
He's like, we upgraded from the bunk.
We
beds."
upgraded, yeah. no air
1.5 times of this.
yeah, but no air conditioning though. So
Whoa.
yeah, no air conditioning for a long time.
Wow.
That's true.
And Singapore for people who don't know where that is, that's in Southeast Asia, like right on the equator. So it's hot and humid all year long.
Oh gosh.
Yeah, it's either
All
rainy, rainy and hot, or
Even
just
now?
hot and humid.
You guys been
Even
there?
now, yeah.
No.
It's the opposite. No, the closest I've gotten was Thailand, South Korea.
Thailand.
It's like
Everyone
Thailand
goes
but
to
summer.
Thailand.
Yeah.
The closest
I know
I've been is
Thailand's-
Dubai. I've been to Dubai.
Really? That's the
yeah.
closest you've been there?
Yeah, I've never been farther over than Dubai actually.
I
We,
see.
Right.
need, we need to take a trip to like Australia and like
Yeah. I know that's
Yeah,
what
that
my
area.
brother was talking to Josh, and he was saying he was supposed to do an Asian trip like
Yeah.
right before COVID. Like his flight was like March like something,
Oh.
and COVID like
Ah,
just started
that's
happening.
Terrible.
And you
Hey,
know, he's
better
never
than
been able to make it
going
happen.
and getting stuck.
Fuck.
I have friends that got stuck in other
in the
countries.
country. Oh,
Yeah.
shit.
They're like, dude, I don't even know how to speak the language here. I'm just stuck for 6 months.
Yeah, it
Horrifying.
happened.
That's
Yeah.
cool, man.
Crazy.
So I
You
guess
It's a story for a different time.
Go, go,
I'm
go.
gonna
Just
go
tell
down a
it,
rabbit
just
hole.
tell it,
I'll tell
just
it
tell it.
quickly. My friends, they're a gay couple. One guy, they were moving to Australia, so they
Yeah.
lived in LA. One guy moved to Australia.
Right.
Like he actually lived there for like a few months, and then the other guy was still like finishing out his job and stuff. He was like he had to quit his job and figure out the whole situation, sell his car and move out of the place, and then he was gonna fly there and meet his partner.
Yeah.
And the day that Sid was supposed to fly to Australia was the day they implemented the lockdown. So
In
he had
Australia.
just sold his car. He had just completely moved out of his apartment. He had nowhere to go.
Oh,
And he was
man.
in the airport. In the airport
And they
trying to fly
canceled
to
the
Australia,
flight?
and they canceled
Stop.
all flights, and he had to go back to Philadelphia to live with his parents for like months,
Crazy.
literally months.
Talk about
and his partner was in Australia.
Australia.
And finally, they got they had to put in all these appeals and all this stuff, but because
Right.
he wasn't a U.S. he wasn't an Australian citizen, so they had
Yeah.
no real reason to like want him there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But really, they just like kept giving their sob story. Like they just
Yeah.
like saying like this is so tragic for us, all this stuff, and finally, someone in somewhere was able to like grant him the thing, and he still had to like quarantine in a hotel for like 14 days.
Yeah.
That's
And so
worse.
literally, like his boyfriend would come to the bottom of the hotel and he'd like wave to him from the balcony for 14 days. It was
Yeah.
wild.
What's
It was
it like in
insane.
Singapore right now, like COVID wise?
It's decent. It's not too bad. I think so. The stance that the government's taking right now is that all right, COVID's here to stay, and we gotta live with it. No more lockdowns. It's we're just gonna live with what's coming.
Yeah.
But it's like of the people who are able to be vaccinated, I think like 90% are vaccinated.
95, 98%.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Like 80% of the country is vaccinated. So,
Yep.
there's a lot of social compliance in the country. So,
Yeah.
and there's a lot of trust in the government. I mean, a big part of that comes from the fact that media is controlled by the government, 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Damn.
So, like, freedom of press happens to be really, really bad in Singapore. But we have a good life. I mean, it's free, it's open. One of the best places to do business.
Very clean. Yeah.
Yeah, very clean.
Super clean.
So cheap in taxes. Living there is actually surprisingly cheap, if you're a local, and we pay no capital gains tax.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's
on
big.
anything.
Mhm.
Wow.
So what's interesting is that I recently
Looks
got
like we're moving.
New office in
yeah,
Singapore.
I know.
we
It's like-
gotta build an arm of the business
yeah.
in Singapore.
yeah. So it's a good place. It's a good place to live in. We grew up there, so
That's true.
it's like stuff like that we don't really think about until we like get out of the country and start traveling, and we see like, what, you pay taxes for selling your stock?
Yeah.
We're like, what? And it's
It's
stuff
very
like that.
unfortunate.
It is.
got
I
tax
can tell you.
crazy in the
Yeah.
States.
It's
Yeah.
very unfortunate.
But
I
hey,
mean,
it's better.
A lot
than,
of things
like,
are
income.
changing, though. I mean, who knows what the fuck is gonna happen in the next 10 years? You know.
I know, yeah,
But right now, it's getting worse for America. Like
Definitely.
tax wise,
right,
like our government now is implementing a higher capital gain tax.
okay,
Even
you guys
higher.
don't even have one.
yeah,
Right.
Ours is just getting worse.
100%.
That's crazy. So give us
Right.
a background. You know, you're from Singapore,
Yeah.
the dorm room up till 2019.
yeah. Up till 2019, in July of 2017. Actually, before that, I was drop shipping on eBay. That was like 2016.
What
15,
was
I
your
think.
main items?
Oh man, it was a bunch of different products like vacuum cleaners, printers, hair product.
Hair products.
Yeah, stuff that I could just find off like Walmart and Amazon. It wasn't exactly drop shipping. It was more like a retail arbitrage.
Yeah, yeah.
Exactly. I made a bit of money there. Like I think a couple $1,000, maybe 1,000. It was a lot to me. I mean, as a college
Yeah,
kid,
first experience too
First
of like
experience.
internet marketing money.
exactly.
Yeah.
Online money, Wi-Fi bread, man.
Wi-Fi.
It's like a
turn that
month.
around.
Wi-Fi.
It's a good month's salary in
It's a-
Singapore, right?
Not exactly. It's,
Okay,
it's far
not
far
good.
from it. Far from it. But
Enough for a student.
yeah, enough for a student, right?
There you
I mean,
go.
Yeah.
living in a dorm, you're not paying for anything. No, yeah. So, I took that money. I bought a bunch of courses, like a lot of courses, and
What courses? Give us a throwback.
Ezra Firestone.
Ezra's like the OG.
Smart marketer. Yeah. Funny thing is that he so I took his email course, right? And it blew my mind because he was making like 20-30% of his total revenue with email alone. I was like, shit, that's impactful, right? And I took a bunch of other courses on how to build an agency, digital marketing, Facebook ads, social media, and all that stuff. I was like, man, I could do this as a side hustle. So I started hitting up people on Facebook groups, telling them about what I was learning. And the idea was that I'm gonna work for free, right? And my thing is that I'm gonna build case studies and testimonials. That's all I want. So my pitch was, hey, I just learned this new thing. It's email marketing. I saw you posting in Facebook groups asking for help on ads, and you seem to be doing really well. Are you doing anything with email? If not, can I do it for you for free? And in return, I asked for nothing except for a testimonial and maybe some referrals if you're happy with what I did. So I did that for a couple of clients. One of them eventually referred me to another client who eventually paid me money for what I was
That
doing.
was a
Best
huge
feeling
moment.
ever, right?
That's a huge moment.
Now you're like, whoa.
So that was I think August of 2017.
You created your own opportunity. That's a
Yeah.
huge thing.
Yeah.
That's
I think
that's
a lot of
big.
people neglect that. I was just talking to someone, my barber today. He's like,
Yeah.
hey man, I never like ask you. Like we always talk and stuff, but like, you know, do you believe in like successful people getting lucky? I'm like, dude, everyone gets lucky. Like you have luck everywhere. It's just some people don't capitalize on the
Yeah.
opportunity that the luck provides.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? Like
it's preparedness. Preparedness,
exactly,
right?
exactly.
Yeah.
Preparedness and opportunity coming together.
There's
That's
always
that,
a variable that's unknown,
Yeah.
but yeah, you got to capitalize on it.
Yeah, exactly.
That's awesome, bro. So you got your first client. When was this again? 2017, 2018?
Yeah, 2017. I think it was August or September of 2017.
What type of client was it that paid you?
That was a drop shipping store. It was like a niche drop shipping type of store.
Which
And
back then were balling out of
Balling,
control.
yeah.
Yeah,
all
and Facebook
balling
was
Dude,
still.
it was
Dropshipping was
stupid.
like
It was like 2 years
Yeah.
of gold.
It was like a
Yeah.
hack. It was like a money hack.
it's
Yeah,
crazy. It's like
yeah.
7 figures every
in like a
week.
couple of months, like, oh my goodness, that's
Zero
insane.
to like $1 million. I was like,
Yeah.
what
Yeah.
am I doing?
Yeah, what am I doing over here?
Yeah, exactly. So I did that, and so the conversation went like this. It was, I did my whole pitch, right? I was like, this is what I do. These are my case studies. These are my testimonials. Bear in mind that up till that point, I've never gotten paid. And so he asked me, so what do you charge? I was like, I was speechless. I didn't know how to respond. So I said the first number that came to my mind. I was like, $1,250 a month. And it like immediately he said, yeah, that sounds reasonable. How do you receive payment? I was like, PayPal. And he was like, all right, what's your PayPal email? I'll let you know, because I know PayPal. Create a PayPal account.
I love it. I've been there too. I was there with my friend when I first started charging for some services. My friend Kat, she was like helping me set it all up. She's like, okay, you're gonna have to set up this. I'm like, and she's like, how are you gonna accept payment? I'm like, oh, I didn't get that far.
Yeah, I've never gotten this far.
Bank account number.
What do you do now?
I didn't expect that this part would happen yet.
Yeah, I was expecting you to say yes, but so he paid me, and soon after he referred me to a bunch of different clients. He was really happy what I've done, which on hindsight wasn't much. It wasn't all that great. I think I made like 10-15% of his revenue with email.
But he had zero before.
He had zero. So that
it's
was
huge.
like
Yeah.
an additional 6-7 figures a year. So he was really happy, and I got a bunch of referrals. Eventually that grew into 6 paying clients. No, actually 6 clients, some of which were paying, some were free. And at that point in time, I had a full-time internship at a local tech company and a full-time university course. And
Wow.
it was a lot. It was a lot to handle. I was like waking up at 5 a.m., working all the way till 11, and just repeating the cycle over and over again.
What were you studying?
Business. I did Bachelor's of Business Administration, BBA. Yeah.
Nice.
Like
And what was your internship? You said it was a tech company?
Yeah, it was a B2B procurement tech company.
Procurement.
And did you study the same
Procurement
thing?
tech.
Interesting.
I did accounting.
Accounting.
Yeah.
Hey.
What a skill set, bro. I wish I could go back and do accounting.
Really? You think so?
Dude, I think it's the most valuable skill set in business. If you know accounting and finance, like as one bucket.
I think
Why are you skeptical?
he might
You
he
don't
might
need
be
an
he might
entire
back.
degree.
Yeah,
You
You
have
don't
to
need a
defer.
degree.
No, I'm not saying you need a degree,
Yeah.
but I got a degree already.
Yeah.
So I'm saying instead of having
If you could
gotten it
switch.
If
for
you could switch.
marketing,
Right.
if I had gotten it for accounting instead,
Right.
Yeah.
I would I think be a lot more ahead.
So Eddie, you did marketing in school?
Yeah, because here's my story. I didn't. So I went into college to be a surgeon.
What?
Yeah.
A surgeon?
So my whole life I wanted to
Okay.
do business and law.
Right.
Okay.
And my parents always, like, they had companies, they had water parks, they had all these different businesses.
Wow.
And I was always helping them operate them, market them. Like, I was really good at business. My dad, when I was like 16, would like put me in negotiations with like people that were billionaires because I held my ground better than my dad. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like, I was always good at like the business side,
Yeah.
the commerce side of things. So I was like, everyone's like, you should be a lawyer. I'm like, you're right. I'm so good at talking and all these things. Like, if I'm negotiating as a lawyer, I'll have so much more credibility. So that was like what I was gonna do. Last year of school before university, I injured my knee. I ripped it all apart from the inside playing soccer, and the doctor like changed my life. Right. So I was like,
Right.
dude, I want to do this for other people. Like
Yeah.
this guy, like, I went to sleep. I woke up 6 months later. I can run again. I couldn't even like sit. It hurt so much. You know what I
Right.
mean? So I was like, I'm going to do that. And then so I went for 1 semester. And I was like, I'm not going to do this for 13 years. Like, this is too
Yeah.
boring. I don't care how many lives I'm going to change.
Oh my goodness. Yeah.
So I was like, let me just switch back to business. I switched back to business. The only,
Yeah.
based on my science grades first semester, like,
Right.
I couldn't get into accounting and all these other things. So I got into marketing. And I was like, Okay, cool. We're gonna go with marketing then. But yeah, I don't think my degree helped me at all. I'm just saying, like, if I could learn something, getting better at tax and accounting would have been more beneficial than what I learned.
So you went from fixing bodies to fixing marketing campaigns.
Yeah,
Oh, shit.
Still a doctor, right?
Still a doctor. Dissecting campaigns. Ah, snap.
So do you do anything accounting related right now or no?
I manage finance.
Okay.
So,
Yeah.
but for the longest time, for like first 2 years, he was the one doing finance, which
Terrible.
because I was just too busy on the
That
other
was
side. But I do think there's benefits. You know, whenever I talk to our so-called CFO right now, I kind of understand and I can talk about journal entries and stuff
Yeah.
like that. But you must understand, accounting degree is like a professional degree. So most people take it to practice. It's like law, but just for the accounting side of things. So it's really, really intense. It's like we have our own law for how to report revenue, how to report expense. If you go into the investment side, it's crazy. So
Like most of what we need to know can be Googled online.
don't-
I like to say that
Exactly.
my entire degree could have been Googled.
YouTube videos,
Yeah.
man.
yeah.
Oh
There's
shit!
full
yeah.
master's program
Like
on
this
YouTube.
podcast, holy shit!
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
You learn so much more just by listening to conversations like
true.
this.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and I
yeah.
mean, like, obviously going and taking a course or a degree, it's all kind of served up on a silver platter. So I think a lot of times the reason why people don't go to just immediately try to figure it out themselves is because they don't know where to even start. But it's like,
Yeah.
once
Yeah.
you kind of start going down the rabbit hole of figuring things out, like, you start to realize the things that you don't know, and then you just
You know
Google
what
those
questions
things.
to ask.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
I've heard like coders, like a lot
Right.
of coders and stuff. Like they're like, I don't know how to do a lot of shit, but it's like I know I want to do this, so I just Google it and I figure out what code I need to implement.
Which ironically, a lot of people are like, I talk about this. I preach heavily on what you said, which is I made $1,000 and I spent it all buying courses.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Everyone's like, why would you like buy courses, all this? I could learn this on YouTube. I could Google this. I'm like, you don't even know what to Google.
You don't know what questions to
You
ask.
don't, you don't
Exactly,
even
yeah.
know what to ask yet.
Yeah.
Someone telling you, here's how it works, and then you saying, let me ask this from here, let me ask this from here,
Yeah.
is how you should learn. You know what I
Exactly,
mean?
yeah.
You shouldn't just try to go Easter egg hunt. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, go to where they are, and then from there you can kind of figure out the answers. So
And there's a big reason why people charge like the amount of money that they charge for courses. It's because it's like it comes from experience. And when you're buying a course from someone who has been there, done that, it's worth way more than going through scouring the internet for things that, you know, may or may not work.
Yeah.
And it might just be, you know, a random content team that has absolutely no context of what you're trying to achieve, writing a blog post about something they have absolutely no clue about.
it's usually someone who doesn't even do that stuff.
Exactly, yeah.
Totally.
And so I think that was a really good decision that I've made. Like the first great decision I've made back in 2017. And so I was struggling, right? 5 a.m. to 11 p.m. And one day I was like, all right, this is destroying all the relationships I have in my life. Everything else in my life is going to shit because of this one side hustle. And I decided at a point in time that, all right, I like what I was doing, but it's crushing me. And I wanted this to be a full-time career. And the only way it's going to be sustainable is if I turned my side hustle into a business.
Mhm.
So I called him up. I told him that, all right, I have this business opportunity. It was something I could only tell you in person. I don't know why.
That's a message.
I was like super mysterious about it.
It's like a MLM.
Yeah, it sounded like an MLM.
You guys.
Right?
Hey, Luis, we gotta catch up. It's like out of nowhere. It's like, you know, one of those.
Yeah,
like,
we haven't-
MLM
we haven't
friends hit you up
spoken-
out of nowhere.
A long
we're
time.
Very
Yeah.
familiar.
Right.
I'm looking for 2 to 3 business partners to expand my
No, I was just
business
fucking around.
opportunity. Are you looking for a side income with low investment and no risk? Financial freedom awaits.
By the way, this has never been reviewed like anywhere. Right? So
Do you have a screenshot of this or something, or what is this?
It's
This is
literally
actual
video.
chat.
Like an actual
Wow.
chat, yeah.
Actual chat.
You scrolled back.
Yeah, all the way. Like, it's the first
Yeah,
message.
yeah.
That's why it's so easy. I'll just
what is that?
Yeah.
October? Yeah, October.
2017.
October. Yeah.
October
That's
2017.
so.
wild.
It sounds exactly like a network marketing.
Yeah,
message.
100% like MLM. Hey, bro.
Yeah.
2 to 3 business partners.
Yes.
Low
I'm
risk.
looking for
Low
this.
No investment.
Financial future awaits.
Financial freedom.
Yeah, financial freedom. Oh my
Passive income.
I'm
That's
guessing you
awesome.
said that to 2 to 3 other people too, or
I
did
did.
you
I
just-
know I did not. I mean, the context is that at that point in time, I got hit up by a lot of people in my friends who were in that space, and I knew that was it was a scam, right? Because none of them actually made money.
Yeah, in the network marketing space.
Yeah, in the network
Okay,
marketing space.
Yeah.
I'm sure people do make money, but none of the people that I knew were making money.
I mean,
so,
it's structured and we were both in network marketing. It's structured in a way where the top obviously makes the most money.
Yeah.
By far.
Right.
But I mean, also,
Makes
so
sense.
does every business.
So does every business. Yeah, but
The top 1%. Yeah, exactly.
yeah, good point.
I mean, it's any kind of organization, like people, that was like a huge, deflection point when people are like, all the people at the top make all the money. It's like, yeah, so does the CEO, so does the
Yeah,
CFO.
yeah,
So does
yeah.
like on the top people always make the most money in any kind of thing because they're the
Yeah.
fucking ones who did it and got in early. Like, you should be rewarded. But
Yeah.
again, like
Yeah.
it is set up, like network marketing is not a business I would probably go into again, but there's a time and place for it, and I think there's a lot of good products out there, and I don't know if network marketing is the best way to do it, but
the main thing it taught me was personal development.
100%.
Right. Yeah.
Like
yeah.
it taught me all these people that were making a lot of money in these companies that we signed because we did it when we were in college.
Right.
I see.
So we signed up for it, and then like people who are making $150,000, $1 million a month, whatever.
Like kids like us.
Really?
Like 26.
It like
25.
showed, it like opened our eyes to
We're like,
be
whoa, you can make that much.
Right.
And then they were like, listen to this guy and listen to this YouTube video and read this book. And I'm like,
that's
that's
good.
where we kind of picked up early.
It was like a
That's
big
good, yeah.
paradigm shift because
Yeah.
you're like,
That's
your
good.
professors, no offense to them, but like they're not rich. Like if you want to like be rich, you got to like listen to people that have
Yeah,
what
and
you
they're
want.
not practitioners, right? That's
Yeah,
what they're
For
trying to
the
say.
most part, yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, so MLM message and
I mean, he had a follow up, so it's like, no, I'm kidding. I'm not in MLM.
Okay, so you were trolling him kind of.
I was
I was trolling.
Oh, this whole
Yeah.
time, man. I was like, damn, that's
funny.
actually the message.
yeah. No, but I've been to these pitches and it was pretty culty. It was
They both
Yeah.
said they
very
almost signed
freaky.
up.
Yeah,
both.
yeah.
I almost signed up, but the guy realized that I had absolutely no money in my bank account. And he was like, is there anyone in your family that you could borrow money from? All right, so my dad's a bankrupt. My mom is a bankrupt. Who else can I go to? Like, all right, and he gave on me. So, yeah, and we met up, and I basically told him everything I was doing, taught him what I was doing, and I kind of replicated myself in Lewis, and then now I had like the two of us. And immediately, I think like a couple weeks in, we hired our first employee. We took the profits that we had and hired our first employee. Best decision ever, and we did the same thing. We duplicated ourselves.
Why did you reach out to Lewis, by the way? Like, obviously you guys were friends, but like, what was the reason behind him versus, someone else that you knew?
A couple of prior conversations that we had, I knew that he was running a side project thing, selling stuff on the marketplace as well.
Yeah.
And I
What
knew that
marketplace?
it was a local marketplace
Okay,
called
okay.
Carousel, pretty big in
like-
Southeast Asia,
What did it
like
Craigslist?
a Craigslist,
Yeah,
yeah. Oh, okay.
Craigslist, yeah,
In Singapore.
but cleaner,
Yeah.
much cleaner.
Yeah. Craigslist is a little bit dirty.
Less
There's
crime.
there's also like OfferUp that we have now and Facebook Marketplace. So
Oh yeah, makes
Facebook
sense,
Marketplace is ratchet though.
Yeah,
super
it's
ratchet.
pretty
I was like,
weird.
I sell everything.
$19 for AirPods.
$18 for my used underwear. Shit like that.
Sounds like an old dude.
Yeah.
Stains.
Yeah.
But
you were kind of already in the e-commerce sort of
little.
like world, so
sort of,
seemed
yeah.
like a good
we,
fit.
we were both kind of sort of in that space, and we had nothing to lose, right?
Yeah.
And it costs us nothing to get started, agencies. So,
And you were making some money so you could kind of like invest
Yeah.
it back in and all that.
exactly,
Nice.
exactly. So,
Crazy that you did that, by the way, so early.
I love that.
Hired someone.
It's one of the only thing. This is one of those things that I couldn't understand at that point in time. It was like we only had very little money, but it's like, let's get our first employee. I'm like, what do you mean get our first employee? I was like, we still have capacity, but I have no idea why. But he had a foresight to like, we need to hire our first
yeah,
employee.
we
I'm
gotta.
like, sure, you're the boss.
What was your first hire? Besides Lewis, what was the first employee's main job?
Well, he was basically the account manager, the designer, the copywriter, and
we were everything.
everything, right?
Wow.
We're everything.
Yeah, and it was pretty good.
Because that's a big question, I think, with a lot of people starting is like, what's the first hire? And I think it always kind of depends on what the founder's skill sets are and just try to
Yeah.
find like the thing that you don't have.
Well,
you
the
know?
real problem is most people don't hire.
Yeah.
True.
That's
I
the
wouldn't have.
biggest in this space, especially. That's the biggest problem.
Yep.
Because you don't hire because you just get more bread for
Bro,
yourself.
people pay
Yeah,
me
exactly.
for an hour and I get on the call. I'm like, great, what's your team look like? It's just me. I'm like, why are we even talking, bro? You're making this much money
Yeah.
and you don't have a teammate? Like,
How
what
are you
gonna
gonna scale? How are you gonna scale? Yeah.
Like, it doesn't make sense.
So the thought process at that point in time was that, all right, I'm doing all these things, Lewis is doing all these things, and outside of what we're doing, we had school and we had our internships. It's impossible, right? If we were gonna, build a business, we needed finance, operations, admin, invoicing, little things that people
Did
don't
you know it
think
to that
about.
depth at the time though? You weren't thinking that big, right? Finance, operations, like you were just thinking like,
I
can
had
this guy take time off us, right?
Yes, exactly that. But also at that point in time, I was lucky in that I guess I was curious enough to study like what other businesses were doing,
Okay.
how they were structured,
Nice.
and what made them successful. Because when I was growing up, like the people around me who ran businesses, like my parents, my uncles and my aunts, they all failed. So naturally, the conversation in my family was, don't run a business. You're gonna fail, right? Go get a job. Go get a good degree and
Security.
secure an income. And so I always grew up around that context. I was very lucky that I got to leave home when I was 12 years old and I immersed myself in a completely different environment, and culture and people. So that kind of gave me that first paradigm shift that I needed to kind of break away from that mold. And that changed everything. I started reading a lot more books, Rich Dad Poor Dad. That was the first
I love that book.
huge.
That changed my mindset for sure.
They made us read that in network marketing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That was
That's
the
what I'm
book that
talking
made
about.
me drop out of college, to be completely honest.
Oh shit! Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, I love
I
Impact on
finished
me as
reading
well.
that book and I was like, yeah, I'm out of here.
Oh my goodness! All right, so it had a bigger
I love
impact
that
on you
book.
than it did on me. But
Yeah, it was
It
like it was a few books, but that was like the
trigger?
final
yeah,
straw that broke the camel's back. Like
Yeah.
I was building up to that point, and then that book was the last one where I was like, yeah, I'm out.
yeah,
But anyways,
It's amazing.
makes sense. Yeah,
yeah. So you started reading books, and obviously you were already taking courses too. So like you kind of
Yeah.
already had like an idea of what structure and
yeah.
things like that as
Exactly, yeah.
courses and things.
And one of the, if I remember correctly, one of the courses that we took that I gone through was, I think, around operations or virtual assistants or something about structuring your operations around a remote team. And we decided at a point in time, all right, we're gonna build a remote team because we hate being in an office. We both had some experiences in being in jobs that we hated.
Corporate.
Yeah. We wanted a remote team that was built around the beliefs and principles and culture that we wanted to create. And we wanted to save on cost. So we hired outside of Singapore. Singapore is one of the most expensive cities to live in. So we hired in Malaysia and the Philippines, which were in our time zone and good talent, but at a much more affordable salary rate. So that was what we did. And eventually we started building out departments around functions that we knew we were not that great at. Like design was the number one thing that we knew we could build very, very easily build out a department around design that could serve the needs of all the account managers that we had. And then eventually copywriting came out, and we started having a structure whereby people were organized in pods. So team lead, account executives, and then shared services were design and copy across kind of all the pods. And that was the kind of the tipping point where we scaled really quickly.
That's awesome. So how did you structure your pods exactly? Like when you were scaling up, like what made up one pod?
That was a tough transition. I think it was 2018, late 2018, 2019. So we hit 7 figures as an agency within the first year of our incorporation.
Damn.
Nice.
And it was very
That's awesome.
stressful. Like it was amazing. It was incredible, but it kind of took a toll on operations. It was unsustainable to to say the least.
Stressful.
Very, very, very stressful.
Did you move out of the dorms at that time, or were you still living in the dorms?
We're still in the dorms.
That's
2018.
fucking crazy,
Yeah,
bro.
still in dorms.
Yes.
Making
$1 million.
running a 7-figure business,
School.
but just sharing a bathroom with some randos.
Yo, you
I
know
can
what?
say that I stay on his.
Yeah. Yeah, you stay on my
I
floor
slept
with a
I slept-
mattress. Yeah.
I did.
Yeah.
So funny.
So I
Right,
can
seven-figure
have that
agency,
story.
I love that, dude. I
Yeah.
think that's why like so many people get into business like just with the sole focus of lifestyle and money that they can't wait to spend their money,
Yeah.
And it's like I always really respect the guys that are just grinding and just fucking living as cheaply as possible,
100%. I think one of the things that I like on hindsight that I was very lucky to be in was the fact that a lot of our clients are crushing it way harder than we were, and they were much younger than we were. Right? We're 25 this year, so we're not that old, not that young,
You're super young.
right?
Yeah.
And
Feeling old.
but we have clients that are 21,
It's
22, making millions every single year, every single
Every
month.
month.
Every month, right?
exactly.
Drop shipping time.
And yeah, drop shipping times, and it just
Money
that's
hack.
that's a big ego check when we think about like, all right, we're doing relatively well like compared to our peers in our age group, but when we compare against other people in the industry, we're not that great.
Yeah.
We're like the smallest player in a bigger pond, right?
Yeah.
Which was really good on hindsight because then we kept the grind on till today. We kept the same like mindset of not being overly egoistic over what we've accomplished, and so over time when we graduated, we were at a team of I think 30 people, 30-ish,
About there.
a remote team of about 30-ish people, and we left school. We finished our degree actually. Left school, rented a place, and that was in 2019, June, July of 2019.
So we share an apartment together.
Yeah, we shared an
Nice.
apartment, 4-bedroom,
That's awesome.
2 offices and 2 bedrooms.
Where did
Yeah.
you that quote you said, the smallest fish in a big pond?
Yeah.
Did you hear that somewhere?
Alex Hormozy.
I was like, I'm trying to figure out
Yeah.
where I heard that because I just read it and I was like,
Yeah.
that's a good way to put it. Like you never reach anywhere. You're never like there.
Yeah.
You're just like now the smallest guy in a new group,
Yep.
and you're just
Yeah.
again the smaller guy.
Yep.
And
Which
and
to be
Video
fair is
sent me
not a
this
bad
morning.
place
Yeah,
to
I
be.
just sent him that video this morning. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's crazy. And I think I think a part of this, correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah.
Is your Chinese background? I know a lot of Chinese people.
Yeah.
I know a lot of rich Chinese people,
Oh, yeah.
and you do not know they're that rich.
Yeah.
They live in a nice home
Yeah.
and have nice cars,
Yeah.
but they could have 40 Ferraris, and they don't
Uh-huh.
even have one. They have a Yukon XL. Example. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
A lot of my very wealthy Chinese friends that are like the generation above us, right? Like in their
Yeah.
40s,
Yeah.
I can't tell their wealth.
Yeah.
And then I see it on a screen. I'm like, holy shit. Like,
Yeah.
this is more money than I've ever seen. And you live like less than my parents do. you know? So I think that might kind of play a part into that. Culturally, the way you were raised
Yeah.
was to
And
not,
also
like-
maybe,
It
like
might be. Yeah.
like you were saying your parents, it didn't sound like you guys came from like super wealthy backgrounds or anything. So like
Yeah.
you're not trying to like flex on your parents too hard either, you know what I mean? Like you're not trying to be like living in a mansion and your parents are still living in like very
Yeah, yeah.
modest
Yeah.
stuff,
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
But again, we're speculating.
No, 100%. I think you're correct. I'm not sure about Lewis, but my mindset has always been it doesn't create joy for me to have a nice car, a nice things, but I do splurge on experiences. 100%.
I
Like
think that's the new rich, Like
yeah,
that's the new real best way to spend your resources is making your life fun,
Yeah.
doing things that you'll never forget, traveling places,
yeah,
coming to events, meeting people,
Yeah.
spending on relationships. Like
Yeah,
we wouldn't be
exactly.
sitting here if you guys didn't spend however much it was for your plane tickets and the tickets to, the
Yeah.
event and stuff. Like
exactly. Yeah,
so I agree. I think spending your money on experiences is way more valuable than
yeah.
buying a sick car and stuff. Like that stuff is fun, obviously. And
It's nice. Yeah,
but and also a car is kind of an experience. Buying a nice house is kind of an experience.
Yeah.
It's like and it's also partially an investment and stuff. But
Yeah.
I think, I definitely respect people that are living like the way that I'm living right now. I'm happy, like I live in a house with my friends and my brother, and like I have a good life,
Exactly.
My
Like
marketer friends like don't believe our company's as big as it is when they see my apartment.
Yeah,
Like you live here?
No,
What
my
do you-
brother's always like, why does Eddie live in that apartment? I'm like, I mean, it's just him and Terry. Like, I mean,
I'm like, it's me and my wife. How
Yeah.
much space do I need? We have a garage, a backyard, and 2
A dog.
bedrooms and a living room. Like, I don't.
Yeah.
You know
yeah,
what I
there's
mean? I
not
don't-
much more you like really need. It's like I'd rather invest it or put the money somewhere
Now we're
else or
building a
whatever.
home, but it's because we're
Yeah.
having a baby.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, now
Yeah.
we need a little bit more. But like right now, dude, I don't even care. I'd rather have
Yeah.
my money do things.
Having
have
more is
better
a
teams.
liability.
liability as
exactly.
well, I think.
What is it?
Yeah.
Having more
liabilities.
is a liability. Like, yeah.
Yes.
Exactly.
It takes up a
bigger
lot more
house.
mind space.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right. Having cars and stuff, it just keeps you occupied that you don't realize.
Yeah.
One of the things I've recently reflected upon, I was talking to actually Amani about this, that
Amani, like my sister Amani?
yeah.
No way.
Yeah.
Okay.
Talking
cool.
about how nice your car is. And you're like, you know what? I don't drive, and I'm okay with that. And like I don't like the idea of having a car because it kind of occupies a space in my mind that I don't really need. Like, oh, oil changes, servicing, where to park
You're
my
not
car.
wrong. Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, we live in Singapore, so it's like public
If
transportation.
you're in a place
everywhere.
with good public transport, there's
Yeah.
no
We
real
don't have that
huge
here.
need.
Yeah.
That's true.
The
I'd be
problem is
Ubering
public
everywhere.
transport here is a downgrade. Like
Yeah.
like
yeah,
there's
yeah.
certain like
Makes
it
sense.
sucks because in Atlanta I think probably the public transportation could be good, but it sucks because the city was like built upon a car infrastructure. So
Yeah.
like to get anywhere conveniently,
You have to have a car.
you have to
When
have
I
a
was
car.
in Thailand, bro, I public transported the whole way.
Same.
everything. I even
I
took trains
took the
across
whole
the
way.
country.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
Oh, that's
it's just
amazing.
way to any city I needed to go to, I would get on a train. Worst case, if it's down at the beach, I would take a cab. But like,
Yeah, exactly.
just
And
don't
even
need
even now with like, I think they call it like, last mile type stuff where
Yeah.
it's like you can take the metro or whatever somewhere and then
And a
get a
Lime.
Lime scooter
Yeah.
and take it to the restaurant that you're going to or whatever. Like I
Yeah.
love that stuff, but we live in the suburbs, There's definitely benefits of living in the suburbs, especially like just not even worrying about like getting your car broken into or like random stuff happening.
Yeah.
Like, there's just a lot more room and a lot more space, but
Mm.
yeah, public transportation is not great in Atlanta.
Yeah.
that's
Makes
funny
sense.
that your brother asked about my apartment. Dude, when I bring like my rich friends over, that's different, right? Because
Yeah.
they have like 20,000 square foot homes.
Oh,
you know
shit,
what I
yeah.
mean? Like cars in the garage, and they're
Yeah.
like, "Yo, Eddie's a baller." You know what I mean? And,
Yeah.
I'm like, "Yeah, man, we live pretty modestly." They're like, "What the fuck is that?" I'm like, yeah, I don't really need any more. Like, where else are you gonna go in my house besides
No,
my
and
living room and
that's
your
where
bedroom?
also it's
Sure.
funny when like I can't really like pinpoint an exact thing of this, but I definitely know there's been times where people are like, dude, Eddie must be just like, paying himself so much because like, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, I mean, dude, like if he is like, he's not spending it on like crazy shit. Like his car is like the nicest thing,
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, it's not.
like, you
even-
have
it's
a
just
couple
a
nice
car.
watches,
It's
you have
not
a
even,
car, and you live in a 2-bedroom apartment.
That's all
Like,
I
it's-
need. I'm good.
It's
man.
nothing
Yeah,
insane,
good.
you know.
I'd rather at this point, I'd rather take the money and like, dude, it's way more satisfaction to me right now being
Yeah.
able to like find someone who's like really really sick at what
Yeah.
they do,
Yeah.
and then be like, this is my price, and me be like, deal.
Yes.
You know what I mean? That to me brings me like way
Yeah.
more satisfaction than like another $6,000 in my mortgage to have a way sicker home. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? I don't know. It's just weird to me,
That
but
makes
like
sense.
right now we're just trying to assemble the sickest team.
Yeah.
Like we were just talking about this. We're basically HR companies at the end of the day. We have talent, and like no matter how good we are at marketing, no matter how good our systems get, there's like this 25-30% variable that we can never control, and it's
Yeah.
just people's emotions,
Yep.
how they feel, them dropping the ball, them forgetting something. And you guys have 81 people right now, right? Something you said 81?
Yeah. 80 something
80
with
something,
like 10
yeah.
plus contractors. So like
Let's
really
call it
90.
90.
Yeah.
Yeah, 90 people, like that is insane. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? There's so many variables, and
It-
being able to acquire the best ones reduce those variables.
It's hard, yeah. It's really hard, and especially the fact that we're running a remote team with people from like different backgrounds, cultures, upbringings. It's hard because now we got to align everyone on the same kind of set of values and rules of engagement remotely, and it starts from day one, and it's hard because you got to start. We hire pretty much from anywhere in the world, but that doesn't mean that we have a like a global talent pool. We have people who fit into like the culture mold that we're trying to build, and people who just don't fit, like culturally and from a core values perspective. So we actually have a document, a vivid vision document that kind of outlines exactly what the company should feel, look, and sound like in 3 years' time, which includes our core principles. So when new hires come in and they read that document, and new prospects for hires, they understand exactly what we're trying to build, the people who we're looking for, and the people that fit into our culture and the people who don't. So it's an easy filter. So that automatically kind of eliminates like 90% of the people that we can hire for.
If people are churning, like if you bring in a new employee, do you feel like they're either a good fit and they're sticking around for a long time and they're like gone in the first like month, or do you like find that, or do you feel like what is that kind of like finding good people and like, you know, hiring and firing quickly? What's your kind of strategy on that?
Oh, that's for Lewis. As a HR guy. Yeah.
He's biting his lips.
Which is maybe a good or bad thing.
Yeah.
No, because I just find it interesting because, you know, like finding good people is really hard, and sometimes you hire someone and like I feel like you figure it out pretty quickly whether it's gonna work or it's not.
Yeah, in the first month.
That's kind of how I feel. Like I feel like either someone sticks around for a while, or it's like pretty quickly it's like, yeah, this is like not really a good fit.
Yeah, typically we get a really good sense in the first month, in my experience. But yeah, Lewis.
Let me think. I guess I think we're not 100% there, but I think how the team has been operating, it's hire slow and fire fast in some way. We have like a probation kind of thing for the first 6 months. So it's a two-way thing. If you don't think working at Chronos makes sense to you, you can quit anytime in the first month. And in the first 6 months.
6 months, yeah.
Same way, if you don't feel like you're fit, I think we can let you go immediately as well. But of course, we'll compensate you appropriately. Yeah. So I think that's how it goes when it comes to, hiring.
So if it's within the first 6 months, you're like, it's okay, you can just go and we don't have to worry about like a 2 weeks notice or anything.
Yeah. I we are in a fortunate position. I think for most of the roles, we have capacity, so we can do that. But for roles that are a bit trickier, like leadership position, they're like, you know.
Yeah.
We stick it for a long
For
time.
sure, yeah.
But also it's hard to have someone in a leadership position in the first 6 months and them really be like super integral.
It's tough.
You know?
Yeah, it takes a way longer time. And I was actually talking to Harrison from Mute 6 about this. He runs Google at Mute 6. And he talked about hiring like director level talent and where the risk of that comes from. It's not in it's not in the hiring process, but the probation process, because you don't actually get to see the results and the outcome of that role like 6 months from the day you're hiring that person. So it's really tough because 6 months down the road, you're gonna look back and say, all right, this person has performed well, or this person we fucked up, and now I gotta fix this mess, and probation is over, right? It's much tougher that way. So I think the value of HR as a function and talent acquisition is incredibly important. So we have
a head of HR.
Yeah,
nice.
We have a HR manager, two dedicated recruiters, I think.
Two recruiters, yeah.
What do you think is the biggest
recruiters
and HR manager?
Yeah.
That's insane.
And a compensation benefits person, specialist, and
you have a specialist just for benefits?
Yeah.
Shit. Benefits, okay, so we have like an HR, and then we have our CFO.
Right.
And they're on the same team. They're under the finance team, essentially, right? Finance and HR.
Yep.
Because especially in our business,
our biggest
bill is HR,
yep.
right?
Yeah.
So they work basically hand in hand, and we don't have like a recruiter under the HR person. Their job is to be the recruiter. At this point. We hire like 2 people, 1.5 people per week, let's say.
That's insane.
Right now we're scaling pretty hard, or at least we're bringing on people pretty fucking quickly.
So like that person's
crazy.
job is to filter, and then department heads do like
the training,
the interview, the main interview after they're filtered past HR.
Right.
And then if once they eliminate to like, hey, these are the 2 people I want to pick from, then I interview them as a CEO. Makes sense. Even last time, like Jordan, I never even.
Yeah, no, Jordan was fully hired, and like the first day he like introduced himself to Eddie, which is cool because you know, obviously you guys are remote, so it's definitely different, and we're partial remote, partial in person.
Yeah.
Content is a really hard thing to do remote. Like it's basically
How do
impossible.
you? Yeah, I can't do that.
You can't really do it.
That was
unless-
actually our motivation.
Ah,
to move
okay.
here. Remember I told you we went
Yeah.
to Welling?
Yeah.
We're like, dude, like they're shooting all this stuff, they're doing all these things. Like, we need an office, or we can't do that. Like,
Yeah,
what
makes
can I
sense.
do at home? Like, the most I
true.
can do at home is what you were doing, right?
Yeah,
Record yourself, deliver content. I can deliver as much
Exactly.
value,
yeah,
but all my content is gonna be like homemade.
yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah,
And so we're like, in order for us to, especially in the e-commerce space, right?
yeah,
Our biggest clients, they come to us because they see the quality of the content,
yeah,
and they're like, dude, you guys know what you're doing.
yeah.
You know what I mean? And we
Exactly.
can't do that remotely. And so that
Makes sense.
was what switched in our head. Nothing else
See.
outside of everything Welling. Like, we made good relationships with them, but we didn't like learn anything crazy except that switch in our head was like, we need more content and we need an office, and that's it.
By the way, just latching onto that point, sometimes that's all you need, right? You go to an event, like 3-day long event, like tons of content, but sometimes all it takes for you to kind of ROI from an event like that is just that one mindset switch, that
Totally.
one realization that changes the way that you do things.
Totally.
So huge, yeah.
Dude, let me just speak on that in like the highest level possible. I paid someone 50 grand to spend a day with them.
50
I was like,
grand.
I was like, their business is,
Damn.
Whoa.
you know, I'm sure I'm going to learn something here.
Yeah.
Right. I brought my notepad, everything, all this
Right.
stuff. We ended up just spending the day together hanging out.
Yeah.
But there was one mindset switch that switched in my head, which you brought up earlier. I was like, I need a CFO. This person has a CFO
Mhm.
who's giving these data points that I don't get to see. I just make assumptions on them
Mm.
where I'm at right now.
Yeah.
And so literally I came back 50K. Like, this is a big bill. It's paid itself back just from that one piece of advice. Because I came back, I got a guy who was our account manager,
Yeah.
who I knew was really good at finance and Excel sheets.
Mm-hmm.
And I told him, I want you to make me a report. I'll give you access to Stripe, everything. I want you to make me a report on churn rate per salesperson, churn rate, this, lifetime value. That. I was like, can you make this? He's like, yeah, let me get on it real quick. Next day, full presentation.
Really?
Here's this department, everything down. I was like, congratulations,
day.
you're CFO. I was like, congratulations. And then I connected him
Damn.
with the CFO
Whoa.
of this other person. And then we had a CFO role literally the next week.
Whoa, talk about career development.
I
That's
know, right?
one day.
I mean,
We moved so quick in this office. Like like literally this time last year, we were only in the other side. So this part was not even here.
Yeah.
And we were literally all in the one room. Eddie was in the corner. The CEO was in the corner. He didn't even have his own office. He was in the corner in the one room. It was like a bullpen. Like everyone was just. It was
there's like
it was
10 calls at the same time.
Literally, like,
you can't hear and like
Oh, shit.
It was wild, but but it was fun because like the energy was so wild, and that was
Yeah.
kind of when we made that transition was
Yeah.
in that period of time. Like, and even what you were saying with Lewis, it's like I sat with Lewis and I made a second version of me. You know,
Yeah.
and in the beginning, it's very easy to not very easy, but it's much easier to do that when there's only like a handful, like you and Fredo. It's like I can just have Fredo like sit with me all day and like he'll figure this stuff out.
Fredo and Amanda are our most advanced marketers, and they
Yeah.
were the only ones that worked right under me.
Exactly. They were the
Yeah.
first people.
Yeah.
They've spent the most time working with you directly and stuff. It's like, it makes sense. And that's, I think, the hardest problem is as the web gets further and further down and this game of telephone, of systems and all
Yeah,
this stuff,
yeah.
like it gets kind of dicey sometimes. And so I think like having that strong foundation is like more important than people realize, you
Yeah,
know?
it is.
But yeah, so
100%.
keep going, bro. You're talking. You just regressed. You're like 1 second. I got to make this point about this one thing.
Oh, shit. What are we talking about?
What was
We
you
were saying
talking
CFO and we were saying hiring and
We're just talking about how we turned into like an HR company and
HR.
Yeah.
man, where were we, man? We went
can't
so
remember.
far off this branch.
But you were talking about you know, hiring and firing and stuff like that as well.
yeah,
Right.
hiring
Okay.
slow and firing fast. Our probation period's 90 days. Yours is 6 months.
90 days.
We should change it to 6 months and just tell people to fuck off.
I think it's it's relative. It's relatively an overkill.
Yeah.
But I feel that buffer is important for us as a remote company. We don't get that day to day. The interactions that you guys get in person is at a much higher frequency than we get. So
sure.
there are like little things like offhand remarks and things that you can tell from talking to a person like in person.
Exactly.
You just
As-
don't get-
this podcast.
Yeah, like this podcast exactly.
Yeah.
So
we haven't had anyone work in the office who's like quit.
Mm-hmm.
One person, but he was between us and another job offer, and we gave him the job, and then 2 days later they gave him the job, and he apologized and left.
That's
But
fine,
besides, and
That's
plus he wasn't
huge.
in the marketing space. He was just good at video, but he
Right.
wasn't into marketing. So like,
Oh,
he had
yeah,
no
yeah, yeah.
incentive
I
of
was like,
being
who is
here
that?
before a paycheck.
Right.
But outside of that, no one's ever worked in the office and been like, I'm out this week. But remote,
Yeah.
dude, we've had people work. We go over everything, core values, mission everything. You can same thing.
Yeah.
Like, great, you're on board. We're on the same page. Yes,
Yeah.
yes. Day one, hey, I need you to make me these email campaigns. Email campaigns get delivered. Hey, you can't do it this way. We talked about it. It's this.
Yeah.
Sorry, I don't think this position for me. I'm like, what in the world, dude? Like,
It is wild.
Yeah.
It is very
just
wild.
the last 2 months, we've had like 2 24-hour quits.
Shit.
Yeah, crazy. And I'm like, okay, thank God they left.
Yeah, it's good. It's
Thank
a good
God.
thing.
It's
Yeah.
better
It is good. When someone leaves right away, it's kind of like, okay,
Yeah.
you know, it probably wasn't ever going to work, so I'm glad we broke it off right now. You
Yeah.
know?
early.
exactly.
Yeah.
Or get my heart broken.
I think that the fact that we're remote demands a lot more from us of the systems and processes that make things work.
For sure.
100%.
Like for a new candidate to go from like 0 to 1, there are a lot more steps that people go through. I feel in our company, and then subsequently with the feedback loop that happens, because none of that happens organically for us. So we have like quarterly surveys. We have like feedback loops from the manager to the department heads and then to us on a bi-weekly basis, and bi-weekly just habits and processes that we implemented as like company rituals. It's so much more important, I think, as a remote team, because that replaces the organic interactions that you guys
Yeah,
would
because
get.
when you're hanging out with someone, like maybe
Yeah.
you're just getting lunch, you know, in the back, and then it's like, hey, by the way, how are you feeling? And then
Yeah.
they can like just bring something up casually.
Exactly, yeah.
Versus like when they're working remote, you know, it's like,
You have to be intentional about
yeah,
it.
you have to
Yeah.
be very intentional, and it's
Much more
hard to get like
intentional.
one-on-one time with
Yeah.
your boss, maybe, or
How
something.
do you
like
how do you
that.
manage? Do you guys like use anything? Like we use Discord, for example. Like
Oh,
do you-
okay. Slack.
Slack.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Slack.
Everything's in Slack.
Everything is
Yeah,
Wow.
well, Slack now has those rooms, which is pretty cool. But the thing that we love about Discord is with Slack, you still have to either like call someone, kind of like you can like jump in and like, you know,
Huddle.
click the little huddle.
The huddle,
thing,
yeah.
But they still got to like answer it. One
Yeah.
thing that's cool about Discord is we have everyone
chats.
in their own office, basically. It's like a virtual
Yeah.
office. So they're
Yeah.
just chilling in there with their mic muted.
Yeah.
And then if I need you, I just pop in your room.
Yeah.
And I just turn my mic on. I'm like, yo, Josh, you got a second? And then I
Yeah,
can just
exactly.
jump in and,
Yep.
you know, chat immediately. So there's no
Yeah, dude,
there's no
that's smart.
weird
The
little
VC.
side thing. So you can see right now, all these people are active. So there's a break
Oh,
room.
shit.
There's all the
I think
different
you're in the
offices.
break room.
I think I'm probably in the break room. I don't
Yeah.
think I took myself out of the break room.
Always there.
I should be in the break room.
Every department,
Oh,
every
okay.
office.
So like we
Right.
can hop into an office right now and just be like, "Yo, do you have a second or whatever?"
Oh.
And then obviously like in conjunction with that, you know, using Google Calendar pretty religiously, so then we know like, okay,
Yeah.
this person's in a meeting or whatever. But it works really well, the Discord thing,
interesting.
especially
Let's
for
explore that.
remote, because there isn't like a like for remote, I can, you know, it's almost kind of like it's a little bit of tension because you're like
Yeah.
always on. You know what
Yeah,
I mean?
yeah.
Like you're like my boss could hop in my room right now and like realize that I'm not doing my stuff.
Yeah,
you know
yeah.
what I mean?
Do you use like screenshot monitor or something for your people? Like, do you monitor their activity in some way?
No.
Or only KPI based, right?
Only KPIs, yeah.
Nice. Okay,
Yeah.
cool. So,
I mean, as long as they're hitting their KPIs.
so
amazing.
we've
Exactly,
moved in
yeah.
that direction too. Discord was like our balance of both.
Yeah.
Like, it's still a way for you to be
I like
free
that, yeah.
and work wherever you want.
yeah.
But if I need to get in touch with you, I don't want to wait an hour and a half for you to get back to me on Slack if you're
Yeah.
doing something else.
Yeah.
You
Makes
know what I
sense.
mean? So even when people are remote, like on Fridays, our office is remote.
Yeah.
And we tell our office, like, hey, on that day, you know, do your laundry. On that day, go get an oil change. On that day, get your groceries. Like the things that you can't do on other days because you're working all day, like
Yeah.
do them on those days. But because we have Discord, it's still easy. Like I just jump into someone's room
Yeah.
and he's grocery shopping with his AirPods on. And he's
Yeah.
answering my questions. I'm like, cool, bro, thanks. And then I jump out. You know what I mean?
Makes
So
sense.
It's just very like,
Yeah.
It's pretty
quick.
cool. But I really love that system, and I hope honestly like it would make our lives easier if Slack or if Slack had something like that. But
I hope they do.
it
yeah.
doesn't have something where it's that immediate chat based. Like you always have to call them and then someone accept, or like, you know, and even before Slack had that huddles feature, because that's pretty recent.
Yeah.
It was always like, hey, send me a Zoom link. Hey, send me a meet. Like the meeting had to be started by someone.
Yeah.
Versus with Discord, the room is always open. So
Yeah.
I can hop in your office regardless of if you're in it or not. And immediately we're video
Dude,
chatting.
you should consider it. It's life
It's pretty sweet.
That
because
sounds-
like when people are collaborating too,
correct.
you see all the calls at the same time, all the meetings, everything in your entire company, you visually see it.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
like you can see when someone's not in a meeting.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying? I'm like, where's this person? He's supposed to be in this meeting at 9
Makes
a.m.
sense.
Where is he?
Yeah.
And like even when people screen share,
Yeah.
I can just float my mouse and I can see what they're sharing and what they're talking about.
Mm.
So like I can see a meeting, float my mouse over it, and I'll be like, oh, okay, they're talking about TikTok campaigns right now. Like I
Yeah.
can just see it on the screen. I'm like, okay, cool. And like without talking to anyone, I can know what 10 different meetings they're talking about.
Yeah, you get updates like when and wherever you want it.
Exactly. But
Yeah,
you
pretty
guys
much.
obviously have a way better remote system, right?
Yeah.
So like how
It-
are you managing everyone, being in communication, like you mentioned, like calls, feedback loops, things like this.
Yeah.
These are so much more important, right?
ClickUp.
ClickUp.
Yeah. ClickUp. Everything on ClickUp. Project management.
That's it.
That's it. Yeah.
That's all that matters.
Confluence for information that's more
What is it? Confluence?
Confluence.
What
yeah.
is that?
It's
It's like Notion.
yeah, it's kind of like
Something like a
Notion.
Notion,
Yeah. Like a
yeah.
Notion.
So why not keep that in ClickUp too?
ClickUp is not very content friendly. It's task
Yeah.
friendly. But if you want to view, for example, you want to build like a SOP and stuff like that,
Yeah.
ClickUp is not great.
Yeah.
Confluence is like very
It's built for
very
that, yeah.
presentable. Yeah, very
Interesting.
easy.
So much
Like a-
easier to
it's
consume.
exactly like a Notion actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. I was peeking at Josh Johnston's presentation, not to steal his fire, but that was one thing. He was one of his slides. It was like Notion for like SOPs and things like that. Monday or ClickUp for task based, and then
Yeah.
I think he said like Slack, Discord, something else for like chat.
Yeah.
We
So, like,
should talk
it's
about
pretty
ClickUp
interesting.
after this because we're moving
Yeah.
everything from Monday.com to ClickUp. I used to use
Interesting
ClickUp.
choice. Yeah.
And I was like, no. As we grew, I was like, okay, Monday's a little bit better for this kind of stuff. So I moved to it. And now we're moving back to ClickUp. But it's because ClickUp made a new version, which is like 2.0, I think, or 3.0. I
Yeah.
don't know what it is.
I think
but
it's 2.0 now.
it looks closer to Monday, this version. You can switch between them.
Yeah.
But in this version, I don't know if you guys know, you can add like whiteboard features and things like that.
It's pretty new. The whiteboard feature.
Oh,
Exactly. So
yeah,
we've
right,
we've
yeah.
now started moving everything from Notion into ClickUp.
Really?
Yes, because
Oh,
they have
shit.
documents that now work the same way as Notion
Where you
boards.
can have
Okay.
like the little like things that when you click it, it like expands a bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
You can like hide it.
Because
again.
my copy team, they're like, no, we're not changing anything except Notion. You know what I mean? So finally I figured out, they're like, no. I'm like, they're like, well, can it do this? I'm like, "There." Can it do this? I'm like,
Yeah.
like that's sick. Yeah, we love ClickUp.
I really wish that Google Docs would move away from being like a Microsoft Word replacement and just be more of a collaborative text-based thing. Because like
Yeah.
9 times out of 10, I'm not thinking about the print layout or like how I'm going to like view this on a piece of paper. Like I feel like Google Docs is like still stuck in like the like Microsoft Word based, like I'm doing this word processor thing because eventually I'm going to click print. You know, like
Yeah.
I wish that it would move to a way where you could make a doc that's like, okay, this is like more of a print friendly type of thing.
Right.
And then this is more of a thing where I'm just trying to like put text on a thing and collaborate in a way. So like there could be those type
Yeah,
of
yeah,
toggle
like
things.
Notion and
Because
stuff, yeah.
Google Docs is like so good for like collaboration and
Yeah.
just like the immediate like text thing. Like Google's been at this for like so long. I just wish that they would implement something more like Notion. And I hope they will, because I think there's a lot of pressure from competitors like that. But you know, I think
Are there
hopefully they will
add-ons?
evolve.
Are there add-ons for Google Docs? I feel that
Maybe
there
there
should
are.
be.
There should be.
Yeah.
like widgets and
I think
things
the only
like that.
problem
Yeah, like a
would be that-
third-party marketplace for people to create stuff.
I think the only problem would be that anyone who's viewing that doc might also have to have that add-on. So then it's like
Yeah.
kind of defeating the like collaborative stuff with like
Is a
clients.
network effect.
You know, because then
Yeah,
you'd make
makes
all your
sense.
clients have to have the same add-ons and stuff, and like sometimes. It's
So
hard
what's
for
your
them to,
stack?
you know.
Slack,
True.
ClickUp. What was the other one you
Confluence.
gave? Confluence.
Confluence, yeah.
15.5.
Oh, 15.5, yeah.
What's
You guys-
that?
It's like it's an OKR tool. It's also a one-on-one tool. So whenever there's a check-in tool. So it's like, how are you feeling this week? You know, what's your priority this week and stuff like that. So it's a manager to direct report relationship. So one manager, 5 reportees. Every week you can do a check-in. So it's like, oh, someone rated not well, you can check in. So that's one of the feature. It's like a form. And then you have a meeting, one-on-one meeting feature. It's like agenda, previous action item, and stuff like that. So it's like
Makes
when
it
you have
clean.
the meeting, you do it on the spot.
Yeah.
So that's helpful because it's like, oh,
There's
last week we talked about
continuity,
this and stuff like that. You know?
on
And if from the check-in you're like some person, oh, I'm not feeling good. I have some challenge with this client. You can like, okay, add to one-on-one meeting agenda. So that's very helpful because everything's like synced together. And then the last feature is OKRs. So do you guys use OKRs here? Or stuff? Yeah. So same thing. You have OKRs. It's like, oh, OKRs, this is behind. It's at risk. Okay, let's add it to our one-on-one agenda. So it allows, and there's a drop down. There's like a pyramid kind of a thing. It's like, oh, OKRs, how it trickles down. So that's a tool. That's one of the functions.
What's it called?
15.5.
15.5, yeah.
Interesting.
Cool.
One last feature, sorry. It's there's also performance evaluation. So we use there as well. So same thing. It's all linked. And
that's where you do your performance evals.
Yeah.
Performance eval.
I like that.
Yeah. So everything. It's like
we
a
do
HR
ours on
software.
like Google Sheets. So we have each position has like their main. We have like a Rubik's cube. Not Rubik's cube. What's it called?
Rubric.
Rubric.
We make everyone solve a Rubik's cube and based on their time. We rank them in the company. I'm at the top because I can solve one, but everyone else gets close.
So we have like a rubric for each position.
Yeah.
And so it's worth 50 points total, basically.
Right.
And then we say, hey, Andrew, your Q3 review is coming up. Here's your 10 things that you're usually critiqued on.
Mm-hmm.
Grade yourself. And then so
yep.
Andrew goes and gives himself a number 1 out of 5 and puts why and where he can improve. And then we do the same as Andrew's manager.
Yeah.
So Andrew's doing this for his team. I'm doing this for Andrew.
Yep.
You get what I'm saying? So it's just whoever's next.
Yeah, like a 360 kind of a thing. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And so we'll come basically to this room, for example, and I'll say, Josh, okay, let's start with number 1. It says here, timeliness. You know what I mean? How do you think you're doing on timeliness? Oh, I always show up early. I'm here late. I make sure everything I deliver is on time. I gave myself a 5. I'm like, I gave you a 4. Here's why. I think you can be better here.
Yeah.
And so it's like a two-way feedback loop, and it's interesting because it's funny because we judge very bluntly.
Yeah.
And
Because
anyone
you can't give a 5 on everything. 5 is actually like exceeding expectations.
Should be
Correct.
promoted.
Yeah. Should be promoted.
Andrew's
exactly.
insane at video and editing. Like he's insane. He teaches other people
that's
courses.
A 5,
It's not a 5. It's a 4.
It's a
Because
4.
Andrew's like, dude, there's so many people I know that are way better than me. I should be like at that level to be a 5.
Because the number
Right.
is like based on yourself. It's like if I there's certain categories where it's like you can't get any better. Like there's certain categories where it's like, okay, I have to give you a 5 because like how can you be better at
being on time? You can
like,
be more on time.
Yeah, if you're early every day. If
You're
early
like
every
really,
day,
really on time.
yeah, stuff like that. But then there are certain things where it's like my friend Jamie put in perspective one time. He's a personal trainer, and he said he'll have like these kind of overweight people come in, and he says on a scale of 1 to 10, where do you feel like your knowledge of fitness and stuff is? They'll give answers like 9s and 8s, and he's like, well, to put it in perspective, I'd probably give myself like a 6 or something like that because I know like doctors and tons of other people and physiologists that have been doing this for their whole life, and I've just got started in this field. So even though I'm definitely above average, but I still feel like there's so much more that I could know. No, oh well, when you put it like that, blah blah blah. Like
it's funny. The first time someone gets a review, they always overvalue themselves.
Yeah.
And the smartest people I've learned don't overvalue themselves.
Yeah.
The smartest people come to the table, and I'm like, let's see what this guy did.
Yeah.
He's really smart. He probably gave himself like a 45.
Yeah.
Like 32. I'm like, nice. We gave you a 37. You know what I mean? The people who like don't get that and like don't understand where they're at, they'll come in. I'm not gonna say.
It's kind of
what was the
heartbreaking
score that you
sometimes.
got? Like a 48 or something out of 50?
Yeah, there was like one guy that really went.
It was like his
overboard.
first week too.
Right.
Oh yeah. I know. Sorry, I thought you were talking about someone else. I know who you're talking about.
First
Yeah.
week?
It was
Yeah.
like his first week, and we were just about to do the Q3 reviews.
It wasn't first week. It was like first month. Let's say.
Okay.
But like,
And
he
we're like,
hadn't
here's how
worked-
they're gonna go. So you might as well do
Oh.
one for the last 4 weeks.
He hadn't
Right,
like worked for a full quarter, but it's like we might as well give you a review, and you can just see how it goes and stuff. But it was just funny because it was like 5s like across the board. It's like, well, to be honest, you just started using this software, so like, how do you think you're an expert? I already today told you like 5 things that you didn't do right. So like, why would you give yourself a 5?
It's just funny, but it's cool because they leave that meeting and they're like, I get it. Like I can be so much better.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And like the people who shouldn't be here according to the culture
Yeah.
will leave that meeting and
Yeah.
they'll be like, oh, that wasn't fair.
Yeah.
You know
Yeah.
what I mean? But the ones who like understand
Yeah.
what we're trying to do are
Yeah.
like, this was really good feedback. I'm going to take it and run with it. And
exactly.
You know what I mean? I think it's very beneficial. So you guys do all that through 15.5.
Yeah, all of that through 15.5. And we go through the same problems actually with, different, especially with different managers having different, like grading expectations.
Yeah.
Because a 3 to me, like a 3 out of 5 means that you've met my expectation, right? That's why that's a 3. A 4 would be you have exceeded my expectations, and a 5 would be you're exceptional at what you do at that category, and a 2 would be you're just shy, you fell below, and a 1 would be significantly like bad. Yeah. So it's hard to get everybody aligned on what a 3 means, what a 4 means, and what a 5 means.
That's a very good point that we need to do better at.
You know what's really funny? So when I used to work at this one business, my boss asked everyone at the company to go on Google Maps and give us a review, right?
Yeah.
And this one guy went in and gave us a 4-star review.
And he worked there?
And he worked there. and my boss is like, guys, Sylvan gave us a 4. Sylvan gave us a 4-star review. What the hell? She's like, we have never gotten a 4-star review. Like all of our reviews are 5s.
Yeah. Right.
Like even from, customers, like all of our reviews.
Yeah.
And when she asked him, he's like, well, I think there's things we can improve. And she's like, I don't care about that. Like, this is Google reviews. Just give us a fucking 5. It was so funny though. Cause to be completely honest, I probably would have given our business a 4 too. Like there's things that we could have been better at. But it's just funny. Like, when you're going on like Google, I feel like you're like rating like a 5 or a 1. You know what I mean? It's like
exactly.
In the middle, no one cares. Yeah. Like I want to hear about the best experience or the worst experience. Like that's all.
When you go on Amazon, even you read 5 and 1-star reviews. You're like,
exactly.
What's the worst case scenario and what's the best case scenario?
No one beats a 3. This product has met my expectations.
Exactly. And it's funny.
It wiped me clean.
Exactly. And it's funny because like sometimes you want to say 5. You want to say a 5, but it's like, to be completely honest, like it met my expectations, but it didn't blow me out of the water. It's a fucking toothbrush, you know what I mean?
Exactly.
It didn't like
it's toilet paper.
It was so softest toilet paper I've ever wiped with.
It was like an angel's cheek. Oh god.
You can tell this guy does copy for sure.
Oh, you know what? That was my first thing that I learned. First course. Copywriting. I bought this thick ass manual from AWAI, American Writers Association Inc. It was I think a course that's titled Road to 6-Figure Copywriting or something along those lines, and it had like printouts of like old school newspapers, flyers, and all that kind of stuff. And it's so thick that I don't think anyone actually completed that, but it's full of gem. Like it's so good. Yeah. Old school copywriting, like stuff that you used to like. Yeah. What's that?
Is it?
Agora Financial. Yeah.
They put all those gems there. Right?
Yeah, they put out some really good stuff, and it's like the stuff that you used to have to like in the copywriting sphere, people believe in rote learning. Interestingly, like writing copy with pen and paper a lot over and over again until it becomes like muscle memory. That you phrase words in a certain way, you structure sentences in a certain way because it converts, because it is effective. And I think there's some wisdom to that, because people often think about, all right, what's next? What's the next best tech? What's the next marketing channel, the next platform that I gotta hop on, the next app? But when you think of what's really effective and productive and not just efficient, it's really the fundamentals that don't change over the years.
Yeah, for sure. Especially with writing. I mean, it's like, it's the most ancient form of communication besides talking. It's like literally there's human nature in response to the written word. And I think just depending on where your audience is on a spectrum of like, all different kinds of things, there's probably been books and things written 50, 100 years ago about the same type of techniques and tactics that we're kind of still using now.
Yeah.
I think like with, content, like, visual content, that stuff changes like crazy, trends and all this stuff.
Yeah.
But like the written word, it's like still pretty much a lot of the same stuff. Fundamentals are going to be always fundamentals. You're right.
Isn't it crazy though? You can just sell shit with words.
Yeah.
It's
Like
actually
people read
wild.
Yeah.
something and they're like,
That-
I'll spend $100.
That is fascinating.
These
I-
words
yeah.
made me want to spend.
I think about that with content
These-
too. Like
yeah.
I think about it from like from a content standpoint. I'm like, we took this product that if we would have taken a picture of it with, you know, just like a regular camera with just like a, you know, whatever, it would not look, it wouldn't entice anyone to buy it. But just because of the way we frame it and the way that we make it look cool,
Yeah.
then people think that it's going to be cool. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like you have to put effort into, like, it's so wild. The I guess the implied, the things that good content can imply. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like if you have good content, that means that you spent money to make your product look this cool. You probably spent a good amount on research and development of that
Hopefully,
product and
yeah.
making the product dope.
Hopefully,
Like,
yeah.
you know, hopefully, exactly, hopefully. And like it implies that you care, and it implies that you're doing like certain things. Same thing with good packaging in your content, with your like products. You know, it's like if you have like shitty packaging, what else did you like skimp on? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like if you have like a bad unboxing experience and it just looks like you threw it in a box. And I was like, okay, they obviously don't care about their experience for their customer. What else did they like skimp
Yeah.
on? You know, so I think, you know, with everything that we do in our agency, it, like I think putting that effort and care into the selling part of it,
Correct.
almost like implicitly, like it implies to the customer
It
that
associates with quality.
exactly
Right,
it
yeah.
associates it with quality.
Even when we got like Snow, right? Like the toothbrush from Snow.
yeah.
You guys opened it, you're like, what the fuck is this? It came out of a box, and it had a sleeve on it, and then it had
There was
all
a
the
whole
toothbrush.
experience
Yeah.
unboxing it. It was
My
really
the
nice.
whole content team was like, bro, you see how sick this toothbrush is? I'm like, guys,
It's just a tooth.
it's just a toothbrush. you like the box.
Yeah.
No,
It's
it's,
just a
it's true,
toothbrush.
and like there's music
Yeah.
festivals have done this too. Like they'll send you the ticket, but
Yeah.
instead of just sending it to you in like a little stupid envelope with a piece of like, you know, bubble wrap or something, they're giving you this whole experience. You open and there's a fucking little light that turns on when you open the
Yeah.
box and music plays, or they're giving you like a little trinket or something or whatever,
Yeah.
and the wristband is really
You
high
love
quality.
that shit.
Yeah.
When
It
you used to go to
works, it
Tomorrow
works.
World,
Yeah, Tomorrowland in Belgium, they go
Right.
all out with that. Like they definitely lose so much money on just shipping out the boxes and stuff. One of them was a music box. You wind it up in the back, and when you open it, a little freaking dancer spins around and plays a song. Like
That's
like
crazy.
they
literally.
ship that from
That's crazy.
Europe to
right?
California.
They ship it all around the world. They ship it everywhere. It's
So
an
that's part of the
international audience.
experience.
Yeah, it's
That's
part of the
smart.
experience.
Yeah.
Did you know that Apple has I think a patent or a trademark around the gap between the
The
casing, the outer shell
layer
and the inner,
underlayer,
and because that creates like an
and
experience.
a suspense.
Yeah, the suspense of opening a box.
Because there's like a
What?
pressure, like, you know, like you're having, the air has to like come in, so it's almost
Correct.
like a little vacuum until it pops.
So nobody else can have that except for Apple,
Yeah.
which is insane.
It seems like a weird thing to be able to prove in court or something, but I mean, it is pretty amazing. And
Yeah.
the other thing that's interesting, just because, just a little anecdote on that, now that they've removed the charging brick from the box,
Yeah.
like they don't ship it with a charging brick, now that experience is way more diminished. Because the box used to be about this thick.
Oh,
yeah,
And
that's
now
true.
it's like this thick.
Thinner?
So now the
This
suspense
cheaper.
is like half as long.
Yeah,
You're like,
that's true.
oh, there it
I
is.
should
But
be
before it was
paying-
like,
Actually paying for half the price.
yeah, yeah, exactly. And that's another thing we were talking about, the bottle lids.
Yeah.
They want to say it's for the environment, but it's
Exactly.
really just for cost cutting for themselves, 100%.
Yeah, this is I think this is the epitome of capitalism.
Yeah.
I feel like having bottle caps that are so tiny that it's barely even a cap anymore.
I'll take it a step further. We're drinking water out of a bottle that we could just go over to the tap and fill it up. But we're paying for the convenience of just not having to do that. I can just pull it
Yeah.
out of the fridge. It's cold. I pop the lid and it's portable water that's guaranteed going to taste good.
Exactly, paying like 1,000 times of what
think
it
about
costs.
50 years ago.
1,000.
50 years ago, if you would have told people that people will buy hundreds and hundreds of plastic disposable water bottles, they'd be like, what's the point? Like, why would you do that? I can just go over to the sink and fill this up for free. Why would
Exactly.
I spend the money? But water bottles are huge.
It's huge, and I think it goes to show that I'm not sure if it's a sense of convenience or trust that bottled water is cleaner.
Yes,
Like,
It's
you
the
know,
trust.
Yeah,
It's
it's,
the
probably
trust.
trust.
You know, so I don't know. Do you think that comes from years and years of
Marketing,
marketing?
100%. You know what's crazy?
Marketing and convenience.
I was gonna get into the water bottle business, by the way.
Oh,
Really?
In Lebanon. So my family's from Lebanon, the Middle
Mm.
East, and there's like 3 main companies,
Right.
and they all have like access to some sick spring in a mountain, and that's why they are the companies that they are.
Right.
And so my family luckily has money over there, so we had money to be able to like pull off a move like this and like start a water company. And started doing more and more research, you know, the price per bottle, price per truck, how many things can we ship, how like we started doing logistic research, like is this actually a great business model? And here's how far water has gotten, just so you guys know, because we were this close to buying these machines. Instead of digging into the ground and finding a spring, a well, a water source of some sort, there are machines, you know, like the diesel motors that power electricity.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking, that shape, it's like the big rectangle and then small rectangles out the side. It looks like this. So like,
okay.
You know what I mean? I'm sure you have them.
The stuff that comes in trucks?
No. Think about like, I'm sure you have them, dude, somewhere in Singapore.
Where would
like,
you find it?
Anywhere in countries where there's not perfect electricity everywhere.
Oh, it's
like a generator. It's a generator.
Okay.
Yeah,
A diesel
exactly.
generator.
A diesel
basically?
generator.
Yeah.
It's the same shape, same size as like the really big ones.
Okay.
Maybe twice the size actually, but you put it in anywhere where there's humidity and it pulls all the water out of the air, goes through it, filters the water and pours it out like its own spring.
No fucking way.
I swear to God. So we found like we had engineers come in who developed this in America, in, measure the humidity of different regions in the country and tell us like if we put 4 of these in this mountain valley, then we would be able to pump out 10,000 gallons a day, example, like some ridiculous number that no spring itself in Lebanon could pump out with 4 of these machines.
Whoa.
That's how far we've gotten to like water, and people will go and sell that if you think about it.
Wow.
They're just literally pulling it from the air.
Package.
It reminds me of like
putting it in a
it reminds me of like Bitcoin, like analog Bitcoin mining. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
Analog
you're
Bitcoin
like
mining.
mining water anywhere.
That's
you know?
exactly what it
like,
is, dude. It's
like with
insane.
Bitcoin mining, you would go to the place where you can get energy the cheapest. With this, you go to the place where the humidity is highest.
Yeah.
But isn't that crazy though? Like you
That's
just put this
wild.
machine
That's
and you
how
have
much we've
fresh
done.
water for everyone to drink.
That's insane.
But like now I started thinking, I'm like, dude, why don't we just use this to like solve all these problems in like African countries?
Yeah.
You
Right?
drop it in there,
I
like
mean,
It's
It
if
goes
there's
back-
any humidity.
It goes back to like like I feel like I've heard this so many times, but it's like world hunger and all this stuff is not really a resource problem; it's a logistics problem. Like
An
it's not like
allocation.
that we
Yeah.
don't have like extra food. Like food gets thrown out every day, water is wasted all the time, but it's like
Have
a
you guys been to
logistics problem
Africa?
of getting it there.
no.
Yeah,
No.
Have not.
big logistics problem. The whole country, dude. Like you, anytime you leave like an airport or a main city, it's you don't even know what's happening. There's no
Crazy.
signs. There's nothing. It's just like a half done road for
Right.
like 5 hours.
Damn.
Like to
Wow.
get to like another random village. Like logistically,
The infrastructure and logistics is
it's
just
a shit
dog
show.
shit.
They're so like Singapore is pretty advanced.
Yeah,
right.
it is.
Like very
Very
advanced.
It's like a New York kind of a
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
But
a
it was-
lot of entrepreneurs, I feel like, are moving there. At least
I
before
know
the
a
pandemic,
lot
I
of
felt
remote
like.
guys. Yeah.
Yeah.
But like
In the crypto space as well.
I'm
really.
sure.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure.
But these countries were all good.
Yeah.
Yup.
These countries were all like developed with a plan. You know what I mean? Like, hey, here's what we're gonna do.
Yeah.
This is how much land we have. We're gonna like the American highway system. I don't know how much you know about it, but it's a grid. It's a perfect grid, like a graph chart. And just by knowing a number, you know where you are in what state.
Mm.
You know what I mean? You don't need to know anything.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's cool.
Okay.
So like from the bottom up,
Yeah.
and from the left to right. So like here,
It's not perfectly straight, but it is like that.
it is.
Right.
It's a square system at the end of the day. Not like perfect squares, but like here in Atlanta, we have I-85 and I-75.
Right.
Yeah.
So you know on a scale of 1 to 100 where you are in America. I'm pretty far all the way to the right.
Interesting.
Right.
You get what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah.
And because it's
I never realized that.
yeah, and when it's a 5, it means it's going vertically. When it's a 0, it's going horizontally.
Oh wow.
So you know which direction am I going, south or north, or am I going east or west, just based on the number of the highway.
Oh.
And so they plan the entire system. So logistically, it's easy to go from Florida to New York.
Yeah. Yeah.
Example. You know what I mean?
Makes sense. Yeah.
All the way across the board. Like these other countries didn't. Like Africa has no.
I've also
highway
heard of the
system
conspiracy theory
Yeah.
that the highway system was actually also like almost like a backup secret like military type thing where like they built it as like emergency runways for like planes and shit.
They did.
Yeah,
It's not a
Really?
conspiracy.
yeah.
It's all the interstates,
Yeah.
major highways in America, are built for planes to emergency land on.
That's why they're so wide.
And even the distance
That's
between
why.
a bridge
Yeah.
and like another bridge, for example,
Has to be
Yeah.
long enough. That
has
a
to be
plane
long
could
enough that a
land.
plane can hit
Damn.
and land.
Oh.
Yeah, it happened
It's
like last
happened,
year.
it's happened.
Ooh.
Last year, was it in Georgia?
I want to say there was a plane in Georgia that landed because I feel like I remember seeing it on like an ATL scoop.
Yeah,
or
they
some
like
shit.
immediately knew where the route was. The plane was out of gas. They said you can land here. They cleared
They
the two
blocked
exits.
the road.
Whoa.
And between the two exits, the plane landed.
Crazy.
Like
Pretty
that.
wild.
What kind of planning did you have 100 years ago to think about that?
Yeah.
Do you get what I'm saying?
It's such a huge.
I can't even
country.
plan my day, man. These guys planned a country 100 years ahead of time.
Yeah, and that's why I think it's so exciting, like seeing some of these new developing cities, like I know in like UAE and like a bunch of like cities that are like basically they're just building them from scratch. Where like I saw this one video about this. They're building like a. Basically, the public transport system is just a giant line from the water to like the middle of the desert, and all the city is just built on this one line.
Oh.
That's China, bro.
Is it in China? I think it was.
No,
I think it was
that's not
in
in China. I'm saying
That's
but
like China.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
like China.
Yeah, so it's like convenient for everyone to just hop on this one train because the train can take you like to basically anywhere you need to go.
Yeah.
But they're not really like expanding that far like outside of it.
Yeah.
And then also another interesting thing, I know in China they're building a city where basically like the whole top level would be like no cars. It's only like pedestrians and bikes. And then there's like the second level that's underground. Or a third level that's like underground highways and shit, and then the second level is all parking. So it's basically like
Whoa.
they would basically build an entire city from scratch with the idea that you would
Tree
never really
levels.
see cars on the
Huh.
top level. Like there would be businesses and bikes and parks and just nature and stuff like that. Underneath, there's also like stores and parking and things, and then the third level would just be like
Chicago's
highways
like
and
that. Have you been to
logistics.
Chicago?
No, I actually haven't.
It blew my fucking mind, guys. I did not know, and I was there for a wedding. I took an Uber,
Yeah.
and I'm looking at the Uber,
Yeah.
the phone.
map,
I'm
yeah.
like, where the fuck is this guy going? This is like not the way. And I think he like felt like in the mirror, like I was
Yeah.
like kind of questioning. He's like,
Yeah.
he's like, I'm gonna take you a shortcut, don't worry. And then he just like out of nowhere makes a right turn,
Goes
and we
underground.
go underground. This is like downtown. I'm like, what is he taking? Like some like inside downtown road? There's an entire road system underneath the road system, underground in
Whoa.
Chicago.
That's
Not a
sick.
single fucking car, guys. Up top, gridlock traffic. We're just cruising. It's the same road. I'm on the GPS, and
Right.
the GPS doesn't know I'm on a down road. They just think I'm on the main road, and I'm tracking it. I'm like looking right. I'm like,
Whoa.
oh, this is the Louis Vuitton store. Like, there's a garage here if
Yeah.
someone wanted to come from underneath it. Oh, there's this other store here, and I'm like, dude, this is so sick. They built the entire city because there was a river. They built the entire city elevated underneath. So when it snows, everyone takes the downstairs roads because there's no snow on the roads
That's
because it's underground.
genius.
Crazy.
It's insane. You guys go to China often, I assume?
No,
No?
not that much.
Have
Not
you been
now.
recently?
I haven't. Oh, so Lewis spent about 6 months
6
in
months
China
in China.
Yeah. When?
on an internship.
Well, same time we first started Chronos.
Yeah.
Oh,
Somewhere
damn.
about there.
2018,
Yeah,
like
so-
early 2018.
Yeah, it was pre-planned. So I was like, yeah,
Where?
I'll work. Shanghai.
Shanghai.
Yeah.
Shanghai isn't exactly China. I mean, it's so internationalized. You don't exactly get the Chinese experience until you get into like the inner cities.
Yeah.
Do you think
Exactly.
it's less Chinese than Hong Kong? I feel like Hong
Way
Kong is
less.
probably
No.
less Chinese.
Oh, no.
Hong Kong's so
China.
like internationalized that it's not-
Exactly. Hong
Yeah.
Kong's
Yeah.
like American.
I have some Malaysian
Yeah,
friends that
Americanized.
live in Hong Kong.
Mm-hmm.
No, Shanghai is
Mm.
different. You need to go to Shanghai.
Shanghai is amazing.
The city's
though.
amazing.
Yeah.
And then the
Incredible.
further you go out, like you're saying,
Yeah.
on the trains,
Raw China.
it's
That's
China.
raw.
Raw, the motherland.
Yeah.
You get the
When I used
Yeah.
to drop ship and stuff, that's where I would go.
oh
see.
I go to
Nice.
Shanghai. I forgot the stops, but I would
Yeah.
take a train from Shanghai. It was like the main metro station there. I'd take
Yeah.
that train out like an hour,
yeah.
and I go to like the factories.
The Guangzhou is that right?
I don't
Shenzhen.
remember at
Oh,
this
okay.
point.
Shenzhen, yeah.
It was like this huge mall. There's a
Yeah.
mall there. It's like insanely big. I forgot where it
Yeah.
is, but it's crazy. I always tell the story, and this is like 3 years. I think the last time I went was like 3 years ago at this point because of COVID.
Yeah.
I like realized 3 years ago China's like they're just no one's catching up to them. It's impossible.
Dude.
That's my first reaction when I arrived in Shanghai. I was like, yo.
Yeah,
Shocking.
we're
Very
fucked.
shocking.
Like there's no
Yeah.
way. No one's outworking these guys. It's impossible.
Yeah.
Dude, I took a train. 3 months later, I took a train. The same stop that had nothing had like 15, 25-story buildings already built.
I know.
I'm like, what the Dude, there was nothing at this train stop
They
3
move
months
so
ago.
quickly.
It doesn't make any sense,
Yo.
and they just move as units, dude. It just-
Exactly.
What
Units,
in
yeah.
the
Like
world?
ants. They're
They're
like
they're
ants.
united. Yeah, I remember I was listening to this podcast and he was saying like the United States we're free, but we're not really united. In China, they're pretty free, but they're way more united.
Yeah.
Like they work as like almost like
Yeah.
worker ants. Like you know what I mean? Like they're
Like you
like
say,
all
yeah.
together. There's so many that it's like they can do so much,
Yeah.
and they all kind of wrap their head around that concept. It seems.
And
like.
I'll tell you what. So we come from a culture where the community comes above the individual in some sense, right? Singapore is a democratic state. The government's voted in and all that stuff. But from a cultural perspective, we place a higher importance on the greater good for the community above the individual good. Like vaccines, for example, touchy topic. But we have such a high kind of social compliance in the country that 85% or 86% of all residents in Singapore are vaccinated. 95% of those who are able to get vaccinated are vaccinated.
Wow.
So it's a very different environment coming to America and seeing the the values and the differences we place on what's important. And it's not right
Would you say
or
people
wrong.
trust the government more there? Or
Yes.
people trust the government pretty heavily there.
Yeah, there's a lot more trust.
But how long is your government cycles?
Every 2 years, general election.
You change your
I
president
think-
every 2 years?
President doesn't matter much.
Nah,
Okay.
President is like a figurehead.
Okay,
Yeah.
so
So it's
who's in charge?
Prime Minister.
the prime
Okay,
minister.
how often do they change?
It's like a British
5
system.
years.
5.
I think it's 4 to 5 years.
4 to
That's
5.
not
We don't
longer
even
than that?
know.
Maybe it's been the same party since independence.
Okay, that was the
60
point I was
years.
going to make.
60
Here,
over years.
every 4 to 8 years, we're switching sides.
So it's just gridlocked every
Exactly.
time.
It's like you
4 to 8
make
years.
progress and then someone else pushes it back, and then you make
Yeah.
progress. That's
Yeah.
the real problem.
Yeah.
If it was the same party, no matter if we disagreed, agreed with it, whatever the case
Yeah.
was, same party, 25, 30 years, we'd make so much more progress.
Yeah.
Because at least we're moving in one direction.
and we can all
Yeah.
kind of agree. And it's always just gridlock because it's like, even if the president is one thing, we got Ashton Shanks in the building, by the way, everyone. But you know, the president is one party, but then Congress is another party. So it's like, even
Yeah.
if he wants to do something, Congress won't let it. And then
Yeah.
it always flip flops. Like it always just happens that way. And
Yeah.
it's, you know, it's shitty. I mean, I think we're due for some kind of crazy. I mean, we're already headed down the crazy. We had Trump, and then now we've got Biden. They're both not great. They're both pretty fucking terrible. So it's like I think a lot of citizens here are very much wanting change, but they
Right.
don't know
Yeah.
how to do it. They don't know how to elect it.
But like
and-
you said, even our
Sorry.
president, kind of like a face.
yeah, it's more of a figurehead.
Mm.
Like, what is Joe Biden fucking doing?
Mm.
Doesn't
Sleepy
even
Joe.
know where he is.
He follows the schedule, right? It's like, here's
Follows
your
the schedule,
schedule
yeah.
today. You need to go here, 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 here.
Yeah,
that's
but
true.
I mean, we don't need to go super deep on that. But you know, it's
Yeah.
but with China, it's like they you know,
Bro, here's what it
they've had
is.
the same leadership, and they just
100 years
keep
ago,
moving.
they were like, fuck it. Guys, in 100 years, we're going to be in charge of everyone, and we're going to own the world.
and
Everyone's like,
Cool.
talk about vivid vision.
Let's go.
Yeah.
Vivid
Let's
vision
go.
in China, bro. They were like,
Yeah.
fuck it. We're all going to sacrifice now for later.
There's a
And they all
book.
went
Yeah.
up.
There's a book by a guy named Kai-Fu Lee. It's called AI Superpowers: The Rise of China, something. And it's an amazing book. I definitely highly recommend it. I listened to it on Audible. But anyways, in the book, one thing he says is like American politicians study law. They're lawyers.
Yeah.
In China, politicians are engineers.
Mm.
They're thinking of it from a additive. They're trying to figure out how to solve problems.
Right.
From an
Logistics
actual
standpoint.
physical logistical standpoint.
Yeah.
Whereas here, all they're worried about is litigation and laws and
Right.
restriction. That's one thing that Elon Musk keeps bringing up on a bunch of podcasts. I've been listening to a bunch of interviews he's been doing recently, and one thing he keeps bringing up is that there needs to be a built-in system of garbage collection of laws. Like laws that were put in place like 100 years ago are still in place because there's no
Exactly.
system
Yeah.
to actually remove laws that no longer apply.
Yeah.
Like every certain amount of years, a law that was put into place should
be
come back
reviewed.
up for re-election. And if it still applies, cool, we keep it. If not, it goes away.
Yeah.
You know? And like it should just by default go away unless there's a concerted effort by the
Interesting.
party to keep it. You
Very
know?
interesting,
Like
yeah.
Call me crazy,
because
but
now
I
businesses are just being strangleholded.
I think the best presidents would be people who have run really big companies.
Mm.
And I think that was
Because
the
that's how you
facade
need
of
to
Trump.
run a country to a certain extent.
Yeah.
It's a one big HR shit show.
You know what's interesting? Singapore is run like a company.
Now, look at you guys. You have some of the highest incomes in the world.
Yeah.
In a region where there isn't that much high income, from what I understand.
Yeah. It's
right?
it's
like
incredible.
Your surrounding countries are nowhere near Singapore from a income, from a even technology standpoint, bro. Like Singapore is talked so highly about everywhere. You know what I mean? You don't hear people talking super highly about Vietnam in every conversation, but Singapore comes up in all of them like this amazing country.
Almost all had the same starting point. That's the interesting thing.
Yeah.
I know a
everyone
lot
has
of
starting
like foreign leaders, or Ray Dalio.
Yeah.
It's very impressive Singapore. His latest book is about
The changing world order.
changing world order. So 2 parts. First, we're talking about China. He was like he was showing the chart like China is going to be like the next world power and shit like that. Yeah. So that's
one
one.
you're talking about.
There was
the graph.
1, 2, 3,
world
4, 5,
power.
6, 7.
Yeah. A second thing, when I opened the book and I was like, he was like doing his usual acknowledgements. I was like, hold up, there's like a few Singaporean name that nobody in the world should know, but it was listed there, and it was all like Lee Kuan Yew.
Yeah.
And so, Heng Swee Keat, that's our
Heng Swee
finance
Keat,
minister. Like, I don't know
Interesting.
why he should know him. He's like a internal finance minister, but somehow he
Fascinating.
know Ray Dalio. And the other Singaporean guy who has a lot of business thing in China. I was like, yeah. And in his previous book, was like, he was very impressed with Singapore. I was like, yeah. We grew up in Malaysia, so we are like very jealous of Singapore. Yeah.
No, in Malaysia, things are different. Like we are literally second-class citizens in Malaysia, in our home country.
That's crazy.
There are rules and laws enacted to put the dominant race, known as the Bumiputra, translated to people of the land. Yeah, people of the land.
So people who are like native
People, yeah.
Native Malaysians.
Native Malays, yeah. At advantage. Things like tax. I'm not sure about taxes, but yeah, certain taxes like property tax, property
Dubai's like
prices. Oh, really?
Yes.
Yeah, Dubai, they give a lot of special things. Like, for example, if two United Arab Emirates citizens marry, you get like a car, a house, and like
no. But back to the second class citizen, it's way worse.
Right.
Second class citizen. Let's say I go and I live in Dubai right now.
Yeah.
And let's say I've been there for 15 years, bro. Let's just say 5 for sake, just in case I'm wrong about a certain limit.
Right.
Let's say I'm 5 years in, I own a company with you, and you are native.
Yeah.
Okay. At any point, no questions asked, the government can tell me, "Fuck you. We've taken half your company. You're no longer allowed in Dubai because I'm not a native. Native, they can't touch him." Like, that's the difference.
I've heard stories, like crazy stories about this.
Dude, it's happened to so many of my friends. They've worked so hard building companies over there, all this stuff, and then they get fucked in one day. All of it. Gone. No license, nothing. You're not allowed in Dubai, just exiled like that.
Whoa.
Wow.
Just because they're not a first-class citizen. Like, they can really take advantage of. That's their rules. That's how they're drawn.
Whoa.
Yeah. So,
That is
not foreign. Probably not as intense, it sounds
Yeah.
like, in Singapore. Like,
No.
It just sounds like you
Malaysia.
get more benefits being native or, like, first dibs on things.
No, in Malaysia. In Malaysia.
Malaysia.
Yeah, Malaysia.
Okay.
Yeah.
Malaysia. In Singapore, it's like you come in.
Fair.
I don't care who you are, what your background is. If you want to start a business in Singapore, you could make that happen in a week, like a couple days.
They love it.
Yeah. It's so open to business that I think it's one of the friendliest places in the world to start a company.
Yeah.
Yes.
And taxes are so cheap. It's like
What is
flat
the tax rate?
flat 17%.
17.
Yeah.
That's all.
Flat.
And like personal income, they're
Max
like
22%.
yeah, the top bracket pays 22%.
The top bracket.
Yeah.
Wow.
You want to hear what Lebanon's is? 5.
5. What?
My family made millions every year, and they paid 5%.
Shit.
Like
Damn.
nothing shady. Like that's
But-
the rule.
How much is that
Whoa.
money worth today?
Yeah,
The currency has been inflated like
yeah. But if
nuts.
but if they did that, if we're talking 2 years ago, then
yeah,
Right.
yeah,
it
yeah,
was
yeah.
immensely valuable.
No, but it's just interesting to see like what's transpired.
Right.
Yeah, for sure. What's your currency in Singapore?
Singapore dollars.
What is that to USD?
It's about 1 to Canadian dollars.
Oh,
Oh,
really?
okay.
Yeah.
So it's a
That's
little.
powerful.
It's not pegged. It's not pegged, but it's about the same.
Dude,
Yeah.
that's powerful. That's pretty big.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that
Like
is.
1.3 US.
Yeah, 1.36, I think.
Dude,
Yeah,
that's like
1.35.
Not bad.
Yeah.
That's what, like top 10 in the world, probably.
I
That's
don't
got to
know.
be right.
Maybe, yeah. Against the USD?
Yeah, against
Maybe,
the
yeah.
USD. Like,
Possibly.
there's not many
I
that
think
are
so.
like
Yeah.
within one.
It's
of
been very
USD.
stable.
I guess you also have to
Very
look at the
stable.
market cap of it too.
Yeah, true.
It's kind of like shares. It's like
Yeah,
my stock has the highest stock price. Yeah, but how many shares are there? of this?
Yeah, but it doesn't matter. They
Yeah.
can bring their dollar right
Oh
now.
yeah, you're totally.
Go
Yeah,
to a
actually,
Western
you're
Union
right.
down the
You're
road.
right. It's the what? Yeah, you're right. You're
And
right.
they'll
You're right.
honor
oh yeah,
the
that's a little bit
USD.
different. Yeah,
You're right. You're right.
makes
You're right.
sense.
You're right.
So like the world
Those play hand in
agrees.
hand because you're
Yeah,
transferring one to
So I guess let's talk next steps in your company. We've talked about all these things.
yeah. Let's get back to Chronos.
fun.
No, it is fun.
yeah.
So like what's the goal here with you guys? You know, you've expanded so much the last few years, especially. Like, do you have a set target? I know you talk about this vivid vision in 3
Yeah.
years, etc. You guys trying to sell it at some point? Or are you guys trying to just build it and be like, we want to build this amazing machine that just provides awesome results? Like, have you guys talked about that yet?
I think what's what's interesting is that we now have options. We now have options. So we could take it in many different directions. Like from an acquisition standpoint, there are companies that are willing to pay good money to buy a decent sized email agency
Mm-hmm.
like ours.
Yeah.
But kind of looking at what we can do, like optionally cost wise, we would be growing at about projected about 52% in 2022
Mm-hmm.
based on our budget, and we would be giving that up plus everything else that we could do with the system that we've built in and looking at other channels and other services that we could implement into the existing infrastructure that we've built and the relationships that we've had with our clients. That's much more exciting, I think, to the both of us than it is to sell and exit a company right now. So I think it's more a continue to build type of a thing. And now we get to play in a slightly bigger league, albeit being a smaller player in that bigger league.
Yeah.
And I think that's way more exciting. And always being the smallest player in a really large league is, I think, what's interesting to us. So I think in the next 3 years, we would hopefully no longer be known as just an email agency.
Nice.
And I think that we've built a really decent machine that creates success for clients on a very repeatable basis. Our goal is to continue doing that, but with other channels and other marketing services.
Any
Yeah.
eyes on what's next? Like which one of those channels?
So-
TikTok?
We've done email and SMS.
Okay.
We're looking at Amazon as well, because
Interesting.
a lot of our clients are not in the space. So for context, the majority of our clients are within the
Shopify.
in the Shopify ecosystem, doing about 5 to 10 mil a year.
Mm-hmm.
So not massive businesses, but
And
once
a
you
lot of U.S. based companies, you
Yeah.
said, right?
70+ % are US based,
How many
Um,
total?
70-ish.
Nice.
Yeah. And that so just to touch on that, we were talking about this, right? We have 70-ish clients with a team of 94 total, about 10 plus are contractors. It's a huge team for only 71 clients.
Yeah.
They're at the ballpark of 5 to 10 mil. They're not massive Fortune 500 companies. So that's also an issue that if we continued scaling the same way, it's going to come to a point where we would have a huge, massive team of multiple layers of management to serve a relatively small amount of clients. Unless we do one of two things. Number one, we radically change the way that we serve clients to create the same success with a lower cost to us or a much more optimized system. Or B, start looking at other services that could utilize the same overhead and infrastructure that we've built for email and SMS. So we're looking at the latter, but
Amazon is
who
a
knows?
really good, especially where your people are trained and everything. A lot of them have training on Amazon and are very it's very plug and play,
right.
so it is easy. At the same time, though, I guess you cross benefit yourself by creating a source of income for Shopify because now you have more people into your email,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah.
it's this trade-off.
Yeah.
And at the same time, just as because we're horizontal, right? You
Mhm.
guys are very vertical.
Yeah.
We're horizontal. So email clients, for example, we have 35 email clients, right? But we have Facebook clients, Google clients, content clients, Amazon clients,
Yeah.
et cetera, et cetera.
Right.
So our biggest challenge was like, you know, how wide do we go?
Yeah.
And it's cool because you see like clients who give us everything and like actually like let us run a 90-day cycle
Yeah.
grow.
Yeah.
Clients who give us everything and stop at 30 days don't grow because like it's so much more learning for us
Yeah.
and research to do 6 things wide at the same time that they
Yep.
kind of expect a miracle in the first 30 days. So it's this offset of like, this is kind of where I'm going with it.
Yeah.
If you go Amazon, benefit of Amazon is it's plug and play, just the way that your ecosystem is built from what we talked about outside.
Right.
It's very plug and play, and it shouldn't affect the email side negatively.
Right.
Meaning you don't
And
do well on
voice.
Amazon, they're not going to leave on email.
Yeah.
But our case, double-edged sword here, we do really well on one service. Example, content team
Right.
shot a shoot. Client loved it. Client then decided to do Amazon with us.
Right.
We sold them out on Amazon. They've never been sold out before. Now they're doing Google. I'm sure
Right.
next step, we already signed actually, TikTok. So like now we're 5 services in with the same person
Mm-hmm.
because we had that. So it is a benefit. But at the same time, other way around, someone signs 4 services, one department is not doing well.
Yeah.
A lot of the times the client, even though it's not true, will reflect that result on all the other 3 departments that are working, even though they're all doing well.
Yeah.
And so now they're like, hey, we don't really want you for anything. We're going to go do something else.
Yeah.
The smart ones are like, listen, you guys are doing awesome at these 3 things. We'll just take this other one somewhere else and we'll
Yeah.
leave you on these 3. So it's a balance
Yeah.
as a business owner. But the more Shopify centric you are,
Yeah.
the quicker you can acquire horizontally
Makes sense.
because you're already supporting a system that they depend on
Yeah.
instead of creating a new one.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying?
That makes sense. Yeah.
It's a very interesting position that you're in because you have
Yeah.
70 people, bro. Like half of those take you up on another service. You are doubling your revenue.
Yeah. Yeah.
At least
exactly.
profit margin.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Correct. So it's kind of it's a strange situation to be in because on one hand we don't exactly have a ton of experience with these new services that we're exploring. So and it's a conundrum. I guess it's a limiting belief as well that if we fuck up on these new services, people are gonna be like, all right, you fucked up on these things. You're probably bad at these other things too.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm gonna leave you completely.
It's a double-edged sword for sure.
Yeah. But now what you're saying, Eddie, is that because they're kind of isolated in a sense where Shopify is Shopify and Amazon is Amazon, they're not exactly related. They're going to be separate teams. They're not going to be that much of a issue, right?
No, but it's also going to create more friction on the sale.
Yeah.
It
It
like,
is.
Let's say going
Correct.
from 70 to 150.
That acquisition. Yeah.
Exactly, because now you're like, I've seen it. Like,
Yeah.
it's easier to tell someone, you know, modify all these things to your sports car instead
Yeah.
of buying another sports car.
Mm,
You know, like they have a really nice car and you say, hey, bro, $10,000, I'll make it louder.
yeah.
$20,000, I'll make it faster. And so it's easy to add on to what they have and what they're depending on and used to, Shopify, as opposed to building something on Amazon.
Yeah.
So I mean, at the end of the day, there's pros to all of it. That's why we have an Amazon department. That's why we have a department that's just Shopify, you know? So,
Right. Makes sense.
And another thing that a lot of people I think forget about, or at least something that I didn't even know about until working in the space, is that you can't, retail a price lower on your Shopify than anything on Amazon. So if you're listing an item on both,
Right.
you can never basically cheat
Undercut
Amazon
yourself.
by undercutting yourself on your own website. You
Oh.
have to list them at the same price, or else Amazon will fuck you.
Oh, that's it. Oh, is that a TOS thing? Like
It's
term
an
of service?
Amazon thing. Right?
I'm not the Amazon guy.
Yeah, we can talk to Kyle after this, but yeah,
Interesting.
we have a client where
Right.
because that's what happens. People
Yeah.
Google it and they're like, oh, I can get it with Prime shipping and stuff
Yeah.
from Amazon. I'm gonna go to Amazon. That's the
Yeah.
benefit of Amazon. But then you're losing out on
Vice versa, we've
other
been
things.
fucked too. We go to
Makes sense.
clients who have they do 100 million in retail, let's say.
Yeah.
And we're like, we're going to take you on to Shopify. And they're like, hell yeah, let's do it. And we're
Right.
like, dude, this is sick. We plan everything, we go. And then we start running campaigns and we're
Yeah.
like, dude, on Google, Walmart is selling this for half the price. eBay for half the price,
shit.
Target
Yeah.
for half the price, and you can't let us sell it for cheaper.
Yeah.
How the fuck am I going to compete
Yeah.
and get
Tough.
sales for your products when on Google Shopping, every other one is half the price next to
Yeah.
it? Like, it's just impossible.
It's just not gonna happen. Yeah.
So it just depends where they are first. You know what I mean?
Totally.
Makes
Like,
sense.
they need
Makes
some
sense.
some just weird points in the online space.
Yeah, I had a interesting question that I just out of curiosity, and also Eddie, I'd want your perspective on this. So obviously email and SMS are almost kind of the most basic and most ancient forms of internet communication. You know,
Yeah.
SMS is very old standard, very basic, very limited. Same also for email, pretty much one of the most original forms, and it hasn't really changed too much in the course of email's existence. Where do you got, and also, you know, we're getting a lot of countries that are putting restrictions on things. We're getting iOS updates that are putting, you know, that are screwing up our businesses with, you know, hiding open rates and things like that. Where do you think that the direct, like, and I've also seen in other countries where, like, it's very normal for people to, like, WhatsApp a business, for example. Like, they'll put their WhatsApp number, and it's very common for the business to chat back to them.
Yeah, like I just assumed he had WhatsApp. I didn't even ask.
Yeah.
Exactly.
What's your number?
Exactly.
WhatsApp.
Exactly.
And,
Yeah.
Exactly. And so where do you think that that's going, like, if any of you guys have any predictions of, like, will direct to consumer, I guess, like, follow up and things like that, will that shift somewhere else? Will, like, in America, I almost kind of feel like there's not really a great alternative, so it's always just kind of been there as the default. But maybe even, like, if Slack got, like, way more common, like, I almost think Facebook Messenger had an opportunity to do that, but then they just, like, fuck up their optics way too much, and people don't really trust Facebook anymore. Like, do you feel like there's, like, in the future, will there be something that kind of, like, replaces SMS and email marketing, or do you see any, like, trends going anywhere?
I think Facebook Messenger is coming back for sure, 100%. As like a chatbot type of thing.
I think
it's coming back.
Separating it out as a different app was probably one of the smartest things they ever did.
Yeah. Messenger on its own. Yeah, I think so. I have some thoughts, but I'll be curious to hear Lewis's.
Go ahead first.
From a fine.
Lewis doesn't want to hear Lewis.
Thinking.
You know what? I think from a like foundational point of view, what doesn't change is the way that brands need to build a relationship with customers. And the only thing that changes is that the medium changes in the way that we communicate changes. But the desires, the pains, and the needs of a customer changes much slower than the channels do. So I think if we're able to kind of recognize what a customer's needs are from the start of an interaction with a brand to purchase, to that moment of making that decision, to post-purchase, to the second purchase, receiving the product, and then the second purchase, and so forth, then we can start looking at the channels that make sense for each stage. Email is still a great tool for engagement. I think it's still a place where a lot of content can be delivered in a very efficient manner. And unlike, you know, a Facebook feed, an email is like, you click on an email, you look at an email, it either captures your attention or not. There's no scrolling away from it. It's you get, like, for that moment at least, a captive audience.
For at least the subject line.
For at least a subject line, right?
Yeah.
And then you click on it, and above the fold, at least for that moment. But with any other platforms, you don't have that. Even with SMS, there's only so much you can have in, like, an SMS.
Totally.
Unless it's
Very
an
limited.
MMS.
Yeah.
And it's not as cheap as email. It's not as scalable. So when you think about, like, the role that email, SMS, and we'll talk a little bit about push notifications as well, with mobile apps, it's really interesting to see what channels play what part in that entire interaction and that journey. Now, when you look at SMS and what it's evolving with tools like Postscript and Attentive, and even Klaviyo coming up with their stance on what the future SMS would be, it's a conversational tool more so than a messaging tool, if that makes sense. The conversational element comes in.
So instead of like a blast,
two-way.
it's more of a two-way street.
Two-way thing. The first, I guess the first level of that is personalized interactions, right? You have like a list of like reply 1 if you like cake, reply 2 if you like pies, reply 3 if you like both, or 4 if you neither, right? So 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and you reply, and that kind of initiates a sequence of interactions that can then personalize your experience with a brand. That's SMS. But the second level of what I think can be, but it's still probably in its infancy, is organic replies, right? And having machine learning tools to kind of pick out tonality phrases that make sense for that reply. Like, do you like cakes or pie? And I'll be like, sometimes cake, sometimes pie. If you're taking that like literally it's gonna be cake and pie, right? But there is some nuance to that. That's probably a bad example, but
but I know what you mean.
yeah. So I think that's the second level of what a two-way conversation could look like. And then you feed that into, so that's much more conversational. You feed that information into email, and you make email much more personalized than it would otherwise.
Because as of right now, it's like, hello, first name. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
you don't have like that much
Information,
crazy,
exactly.
information, stuff like that. It's interesting.
With-
But do you have any predictions on like where those conversations will be happening? Do you think they'll still be happening like on an SMS type of thing, or do you think it would be something else, or do you not know?
You can't have conversations like that on email.
It's hard. It's really hard
Because it's
to
not
have
really
it
an
on
instant
email.
message.
Yeah,
thing.
it's
You can
not
get like
instant.
a reply,
Yeah.
but like you're not
Yeah.
gonna thread.
So that would probably
emails.
be more of an SMS or maybe even like a WhatsApp type of situation,
If you look at
or Facebook Messenger.
WhatsApp, very unlikely. If you look at when we're talking about like the America, right, the US, these like major shifts and changes and predictions come from really just three places. It's Facebook, it's Apple, and it's Google. That's all it comes from, right? And whatever they do shapes the ecosystem in a very, very drastic way. When Facebook comes out with chatbots and Messenger, now if they succeed with that, that's going to be the de facto mode of communication with a brand for a consumer. If they succeed in making WhatsApp a thing in the US, which is very
It's
unlikely,
probably unlikely.
then WhatsApp is going to be the thing. But it's really hard to predict.
Because like in China, they have like WeChat. Right?
Exactly.
Like WeChat kind of like took
Again,
over and it became
huge company coming out with an
Yeah.
app that applies to,
You can build upon it. Kind
exactly.
of. Yeah.
You're building an ecosystem that shapes the way that consumers consume,
Totally.
and it's very different,
Yeah.
right? And Lewis has lived in China, so he knows what it's like to live on literally just a single app, like a single super app. Where you pay your bills,
Crazy.
you pay your
mobile pay street
You call
food.
an Uber.
Yeah,
you get
exactly.
Your nails done. You do everything
Yeah.
on WeChat. Yeah.
people panhandle beggars in the street with a WeChat QR code.
Exactly.
That's
Isn't that
amazing.
crazy?
I mean, honestly, it's really.
Yeah.
It sounds kind of dystopian, but at the same time, it sounds very futuristic, and it seems like the way things kind of should.
Bro,
kind of
4 years ago, a lady wouldn't let me buy noodles unless I scanned my WeChat.
Whoa.
Like she didn't accept cash.
She
or
didn't
anything.
accept cash. I'm like,
Yep.
dude, I'll fucking pay you triple
Yeah.
in your currency. Like, just fucking take it. I want this noodle. No, WeChat. I'm
shit.
like, bro,
Wild.
fucking
Crazy.
like 80, bro. Like 85.
What do you guys think about QR codes? Oh,
I think the pandemic really brought them back in full force.
It's such an archaic way of
Right?
yeah. It's oh my god, QR
It's
codes.
QR codes are better than typing out long things or
Yeah, that's
having
true.
to type in a URL manually or something like that. I think there's a time and place. I think Snapchat really did a great thing with their little snap code thing. They made it kind of like a cool thing.
Yeah.
And then the pandemic really just like made it way bigger because of menus and
Yeah.
shit like that. Like it's become more mainstream, whereas I feel
Yeah.
like before it was kind of like a nerdy thing. Like if you put a QR code on your packaging for your product, like who the fuck is gonna scan that QR code? Like you're no one. Like it's just the same as the barcode to them. They don't care. It's like
Yeah.
something irrelevant to them. But now it's like, oh, maybe I'll like unlock an experience or maybe I'll go somewhere or whatever.
Yeah.
But Lewis, you were gonna say something?
He was talking about how the major companies are deciding the mode of communication, right?
Yeah.
Maybe. What do you guys think about marketing in the metaverse since Facebook changed? And
Meta.
if you're
Oh, yeah.
into the gaming crypto
Yeah,
side.
Facebook is on Meta.
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah.
shit.
Have you guys thought about that? Like how marketing will change if it really happens? Yeah, I'm just interested.
I've
in it.
thought about
I
it a
think it's
lot.
when.
Yeah.
Not
I-
if. Right.
For sure. I mean, I've thought about it a lot. I mean, there's already marketing in video games. Like, you play Forza and there's like fucking ads basically in the game.
Yeah.
There's just like on a racetrack, there's sponsors on the side of the
Yeah,
track.
yeah.
It's the same thing on Forza. They get sponsors and they make money. I remember the first time I used to be huge in Guitar Hero. I remember I got Guitar Hero. Guitar Hero was the best. And Guitar Hero 3 was was the first Guitar Hero that I got because my parents, the first game console they let me buy was the Wii. And it was
Oh.
the first Guitar Hero on the Wii. So all the other ones are on the PS2. So I got Guitar Hero 3, and I remember scrolling through the set list, and on the side there was a package of 5 gum, Like, do you remember like the set list? It looked like a piece of paper, and as you scrolled down, it was almost like you were scrolling down a piece of paper. And there was like change and like random little items, and there was a package of 5 gum. And I was like, how
Whoa.
weird. How much did 5 gum? How much did Wrigley's pay to be in this video game? That's just a side little thing, and
Really?
it still exists. I still put the disc in my Wii, and there's still a pack of 5 gum there. You know, so like. Video games have like people have been marketing inside of video games for like a long time. So like I don't think that it's that like it's not that wild, but I think that there will be a lot more interesting experiences, and I think there may even be more interesting experiences in AI than or not AI. Sorry, augmented reality (AR) than in VR right now. Because like I think you know. For example, I was watching a podcast and they were talking about how cool it would be if you were in like a mall and there was like you were scanning around with your goggles or your glasses that have a built-in thing or your camera or whatever, you scan a QR code, and then it unlocks some kind of like experience where a virtual character like hands you something almost, and then it tells you to walk to the GNC like right down the road and get a free Cliff Bar or something.
Exactly.
Oh,
like
snap,
that's pretty cool. So I think like
cool.
the meshing of like an augmented reality thing like combined with a real world offer is like really interesting to me right now, because I think that can actually maybe start happening with phones.
I think that's where the world accepts way sooner than VR.
Yeah, it's way more acceptable.
And like, have you used VR? You?
Yeah, I have actually, but not.
I get super nauseous, and
so heavy on your head and shit like that.
And
Right?
like even like just like I feel like motion sickness.
Yeah.
And I'm talking like really good VR.
Yeah.
And like my brain just can't accept
Process. Yeah.
and like and that's me as someone who's like very innovative. I go to like tech conferences and like things that like I'm trying to get ahead and understand and accept these things. Yeah. And my brain physically like won't even let me use VR for more than like 5 minutes.
I can relate to that. Like even first person shooter games like Counter-Strike makes me nauseous.
Really?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
So it's like
I think that we'll overcome a lot of those just over time of how it goes. Like, you know,
like
the heaviness of the
calibration.
head. Like imagine if it's just as simple as putting on glasses.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, that will ultimately be where it will go. And I mean, who fucking knows? It could be like Neuralink, where it's literally like just like playing in your eyes or something. Like, who knows?
It's not even that, bro. We went to Universal Studios together. You saw me.
Yeah.
I threw up on a ride.
No, and I'm not necessarily even saying for you.
But it wasn't a ride.
Yeah.
I went down the roller coasters, but like
the VR kind of roller coasters.
We'll VR you. I was like, I started throwing up on the ride.
Yeah, like it was crazy. It sucks. And I think that we'll probably get to a point with technology where we can maybe overcome those things. But I mean, there's always going to be certain types of experiences that is not for everyone, you know. So like maybe for you, the experiences that get you are the augmented reality things or whatever, you know.
I just think they're a lot more attainable for humans.
Yeah.
If I could put on my glasses and I could see shit, like we already have augmented reality in a way where like my wife goes to buy a couch
or a Pokemon
and
Go.
she puts it and it fits it in the room exactly the size of the couch.
Yeah.
And I pretend to sit on it and she's like, that'll fit. So like how far are we from, like you said, wearing a pair of glasses, walking around and activating things that aren't actually happening in front of us.
Yeah.
But they create a different experience. Like why can't I walk down the road with a filter of fucking dragons?
Well,
and I look up in the sky and there's dragons flying and no one can
Exactly,
see them.
exactly.
You get what I'm saying? Like
And-
that's so much more attainable, I feel.
Yeah.
Like.
And another, to take it a step further with you know, because I think the metaverse is closely tied with like NFTs and like crypto and stuff.
Yeah.
Also, maybe those unlockable experiences are only possible if you hold a specific NFT or something like that. So like
100%.
if you're a holder of a, you know, whatever NFT, you are able to unlock certain augmented reality experiences that other people are not able to. Like imagine if Pokemon Go, you could only play it if you like held a Pokemon NFT or something like that. You know, like
exactly.
you would go to the library and all the old people are like, why are all these people hanging outside of the library? They're not even going inside and they're all on their phones. They're all playing Pokemon Go because there's a gym right there, you know? And we're already in a world where there's certain, you know, things happening with the real world stuff. But
Pokemon's doing it. Pokemon Go, that company that made Pokemon
Niantic?
Go. What are they doing right now? They got hired to make like augmented reality, like next level shit, like the shit that I'm talking about. Like like,
Oh, really?
I'm sure.
Yeah, they got hired on like a huge project.
Oh.
Yeah,
like
Niantic. I think they're working on
ridiculous.
something
like
else.
Pokemon,
I heard.
not
like a sandbox
Pokemon
kind of.
Go, but like a real life for all common adults
Whoa.
to be able to like play something on the regular while walking around.
Okay.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Like almost like like I feel like when Skyrim came out, that was like so wild. It's like, holy shit, this world is like infinite. Like I can walk for so long. And like I think there's like quantum leaps that like happen in like video games and things like that. And as far as like I think one big quantum leap that happened for VR was the Oculus Quest, because you didn't have to plug it into anything. It was a standalone unit, and it was good. It was good enough. Just like the PS2,
Correct,
it's fun. You know, like the graphics aren't amazing, but it's fun. You know, like I can have a good time in it. I'm not gonna want to live in it. You know, people are like, oh, people are gonna live in the metaverse. Like, I don't think that's gonna happen for a really long time.
Yeah.
But it's definitely very interesting. And I think also as far as it goes with like owning digital property, people are like, why would I want to do that? It's like, it's all goes down to marketing and money. So it's like, why would I want to own a specific Instagram username?
Correct.
People pay a lot of money to have like the username. Imagine if I had the username water.
Yeah.
That's just a sick username. Like in 50 years ago, people were like, who fucking cares? Your name is water. Who cares? Like, but like people would pay so much money if I was a water bottle company and I owned the term water. So like, if whatever metaverse world, like I know Facebook came out with their Horizon something. It's like their version of the metaverse, and there's Sandbox, and there's there's a bunch of these different like metaverse type worlds. Even like Minecraft is kind of like a metaverse. And even Roblox is like a metaverse kind of. There's these open world type of games. I think it will just really come to like which one becomes the most like widely adopted, and also which ones are platforms that feel like people can build upon them. Like Roblox, it's like one of the most popular games in the world because you can build games inside of Roblox. Same thing with like Minecraft. Same thing with like WeChat. Like it's a platform that you could build upon. And
it's an ecosystem.
It's exactly. And I think that's the type of projects that will probably like succeed.
What do you think is gonna happen? Do you think one ecosystem is gonna win, like Sandbox or Decentraland, or is it gonna be like a series of ecosystems that speak to one another, that kind of like countries?
Yeah, I think there'll probably be multiple. I can't think of like any similar like parallel type of analogy where there's like a monopoly in that regard. Like, is there another like similar parallel that we could make where it's like, yeah, that's just like a monopoly? Like Apple doesn't own the whole smartphone space. Like they own a giant chunk of it, but Android also takes up a large chunk. TVs, anything really. I think that there's always probably going to be some kind of power, thing. Even like
makes sense.
Even currencies, countries, like I don't know, but I think probably there will be some huge winners and stuff that people
and a lot of losers.
A lot of losers.
A lot
of losers.
A lot more than people think. I feel.
For sure. I mean, like you look at like Netscape back in the day, it doesn't even really exist anymore.
Yeah.
Elon Musk applied for a job at Netscape before he started. Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. He applied and he got rejected. Like hilarious. So like, like Netscape was like supposed to be that kind of like one place where you go and kind of like access the internet, kind of like a WeChat or something like. It like you don't even really know the difference between the internet and Netscape because you just go there. And like same thing even with internet browsers back in the day, like Internet Explorer. People didn't even know that Internet Explorer, there was another option. Like when Google Chrome came out, people were like, wait, what? You know what I mean? Like Internet Explorer, that's the internet button.
The default,
that's just my internet button. I just click the E.
Yeah. Exactly.
But
what do you think the time frame is like? Because I think people have very varying ideas of when the metaverse would happen. Like, all right, for reference, I think that or rather, when do you think buying, selling, and just being a consumer in the metaverse would happen? 10 years? 5 years?
On what scale?
like you're saying, like people like living in it and not really wanting to leave, or like in a way where it's so valuable that no one's really escaping it.
I think he's just saying like shopping in there.
Yeah, shopping. Like you would go into
a virtual
store, voluntarily, like versus going down the street to a retail store to buy stuff.
For me, I think it will be wide adoption of like VR headsets and making them like not so bulky and heavy and
expensive.
Clunky, and the graphics need to be better. But stuff like that accelerates pretty fucking fast. I mean,
I think it's gonna happen in like
honestly,
5 years.
if I had the opportunity,
5 years?
Yeah.
I think
on a mass scale.
So I have an Oculus Quest.
Scale,
I have an
Interesting.
Oculus Quest, the first one, and I think if I had the opportunity to go into a virtual store right now, I think I would probably go and do that just for the experience of it. But I don't know if I would prefer it just based on, actual things. But maybe for the convenience aspect.
The convenience, yeah.
Yeah. But I also don't know how much more convenient going into a virtual store will be than going and just shopping online. Like I think it would have to be for very specific types of things.
Like fashion.
Like fashion. But I could probably see myself.
That's the only scenario I'm imagining.
Yeah.
I'm like only picturing myself walking to a fashion. I didn't even think of other options.
Yeah. Exactly. I agree. Yeah. I think I was thinking of fashion as well. And I think also that will even apply to fashion in the metaverse. Like, you know, like if your avatar,
clothing,
if there's a way that your avatar can be transferred from like one game to another, like if in Facebook's version of the metaverse, my guy's wearing a Louis Vuitton jacket and Nike sneakers and shit, and then I'm able to like go to this other game and flex on other people with my sick
an
clothes.
equivalent to where,
like, that's kind of cool. I mean, I don't know if I'm willing to spend my dollars on that right now, but there's people that are spending real money on V-Bucks in Fortnite and buying real
gaming,
buying skins for their character with real money. They spent their real dollars to buy V-Bucks that then they spent to buy virtual clothes for their character.
I mean, you see these, right?
That's real.
Mutant ape serums.
Yeah, the serums. Holy crap!
What
is that, bro? It's the equivalent of a potion in Pokemon.
Yeah, the mega serums sold for $1,400. 1,400 ETH. 1,400 ETH.
Wow.
1,400 ETH. That's what?
It's a serum, bro. You give it to your ape, and they become a different ape.
Yeah.
So it helps them mutate.
Yep.
Yes.
Whoa.
No, you get an additional ape. Is what it is.
So you basically like give it to your ape and it has a baby.
Yeah.
Whoa.
A mutant ape.
That's
I
$1
know
million.
That changes a little bit.
See, because here
I thought it just changed your ape. I was like, bro, you're.
Oh no, you get an additional.
No, because I know that's kind of what happens with crypto kitties. You can breed two of them together and get another one.
Yeah.
So it's like wild and it's all based on what the properties of these two, but there could be like recessive traits that like maybe this crypto kitty has a recessive fire breathing trait and you never know it.
Yeah.
And then when it has a baby, it has like a fire breathing one and it's worth like $1 bajillion because like that's a very rare trait for a crypto kitty to have or some shit.
We're
like
in such
that.
a fucking weird world.
It's so wild. If you think about it, we gave a fuck about Pokemon and stuff back in the day.
I know,
That's
but
true.
I wouldn't spend $4 million on
an ape.
master ball. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah, you're not wrong, but I mean,
Yeah.
I guess it's also, it is a very weird world we're living in with like NFTs and all this.
It goes in two directions. Either all these people really make a fuck ton of money in the future. I'm not talking about now. Everyone's making money off it now, but like in the future, either everyone just really makes a fuck ton of money because it's like one of one minted and everyone actually really cares about it, or no one gives a fuck.
I think
there's
that
so many of them.
The other one that I think makes a lot of sense is the CryptoPunks, because those were actually originally given out for free. It was just like a fun project that this guy made, and because like they were cool and like edgy, and it was like this kind of cool thing. People were like, I kind of want that CryptoPunk. Can I pay you like, $10 for that? Yeah, sure. Yeah. No, I kind of really want that one. Can I'll give you $20 for it. I really want that one.
What are they worth now? They're worth a few $100,000.
And now they're worth like millions now.
Really?
It's like insane. For certain ones.
Floor price 60 ETH, I think.
60 ETH floor price?
60. Yeah.
Holy fuck! So
it's
$250,000 starting.
Yeah, but
starting
I think
for a blurred image.
I think for certain things.
Pixel.
Here's the thing about like Beanie Babies, for example, because I actually stumbled upon my parents' like massive collection of Beanie Babies, and they were like, if you can sell these,
Beanie Babies,
I'll give you like half the money. I'm like, sick. So I started doing all this research on Beanie Babies, and I found out they're all worthless. Yeah. But I thought that they were going to be worth some money because I thought I had some rare ones and all this stuff. But the thing that happened was there was first gen Beanie Babies, second gen Beanie Babies, and by the third gen, they were already being viewed as collectibles. So they were just milking the fuck out of that. The first gen and the second gen were never really designed to be collectibles. They were designed to be children's toys. So they got destroyed. They got played with.
Right.
So now they're not pristine. By the third generation, people viewed it as something that they should hold on to and not play with because maybe someday it will be worth money. Right. But since that was the view of everybody and they just supplied the fuck out of the market, the third gen ones are barely worth anything. They're worth like $1 each. And at the time, they were purchased for like $5.
Right.
So like, the first gen, second gen were never designed to be collectibles, so that's why they're kind of worth money. I think same thing will kind of happen with NFTs. Some of these ones that are just designed to be collectibles for the sake of collectibles and just for the sake of hype will just ultimately die unless there's nothing that really evolves from it. But I think the first gen things, they could potentially be worth something. How much would someone pay for the first Bitcoin ever minted?
No,
that's
so
cool.
That's that's an issue.
Dope.
Bitcoin is fungible. Like it's like currency, right? You wouldn't. I wouldn't blink if you gave me a different like note, if it's a $10 note. But with Bitcoin, it's indistinguishable. With NFTs though, it's distinguishable. It's non fungible, right? So that's a difference. And I think the difference between the punks and Beanie Babies is that there will never be another CryptoPunk. The cultural significance of that 10,000 collection will always be there. It will always stay, and it's minted on the blockchain.
It's the same as
It
the
is never
first
gonna
gen
change.
Pokemon cards that are from the first.
Correct.
Booster box.
The first
set.
edition,
Yeah, if you have a first gen whatever, like,
it'll never be.
and they're
another one,
only
yeah.
going up in value because people keep opening booster boxes from first
Correct.
gen. So
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
which is crazy because we had a client that was doing cards, and me and another guy got to open up some really old Pokemon cards
Whoa.
on camera. It was sick.
They just like opened a pack and it was worth like thousands of dollars.
It was sick. Like
Really?
we were like literally so nervous. Like we were opening packs that had not seen the light of day. You know, like from the 90s.
Whoa.
Like it was sick. It was
That's cool.
really
Damn.
cool. Like the original booster pack sets. It was so sick. But anyways,
really
But so here's how we end our podcast. We asked all our guests to give us a, like if you had to give someone a fortune cookie with a piece of paper inside with note, life advice, something, right?
Ooh.
Someone who's, a few years behind where you are in life and you had to give them one thing that they would read and hopefully make an impact on them, what would you put on your fortune cookie?
That's a
So
fucking
hard.
good question.
Yeah.
That's a really good question.
Take your time.
Ooh, there are so many. I think. But then again, I just on a meta level, just thinking about this question. When when I get asked this sort of question at every stage of my life, I come up with a completely different answer based on what I'm experiencing at that point in time.
For sure.
So I think based on what I'm experiencing right now, it's probably going to be something along the lines of enjoy the process. Because in the long term, we're all dead. So we're dead by...
Like
What-
you said,
what
there's
about-
never a destination, right? Really.
Yeah.
It's just always
when you
on
reach
the-
your destination, you're probably dead. So
what,
enjoy the process.
what about right
Right.
now makes you want to say that? Because you said you're saying that based on what you're experiencing now. Like, is there anything right now that you've kind of made you realize that or whatever?
Yeah, there's this constant obsession of outcomes. I mean, both on a personal level and with our company as well. That it's very difficult to isolate the joy out of pursuing that outcome when you don't think about enjoying the process intentionally. Because when you from personal experience, when I'm so obsessed over achieving an outcome, I'll do whatever it takes to get to that outcome, and I'll ignore all the tiny wins that come along the way, and I'll lose I guess a sense of gratitude for what I've achieved, what I've done, and what I've been given. And
Like when it was just the two of you guys, you're like looking back, you're
Yeah.
like, damn, those were good times.
yeah,
We were just talking about when we were over there, like, when we were all over there and it was just like 8 of us.
yeah.
It was a good
Exactly.
time. So
Yeah.
you don't. I think we kind of knew we were in the good old days. Like we were like, dude, this company's gonna be huge and we're gonna look back, But
Nah, this is the good old days.
this is the good old
This
days.
is the good old
you
days
know?
right now.
And even right now is the good old days.
Right now is the good old days. Yeah, I think that's the thing. It's the good old days right now. I think that will be my fortune cookie thing.
Right now is the good old days.
Yeah, right now
I
is the
like
good old
that.
days.
I like that.
Yeah. So
I like that.
appreciate the process.
Love
Nice. I love that.
it. Luis, you've had some time to think.
It's so hard because it's so conflicting. I think about this all the time, right? But whatever that just came out from my gut is somewhere along the line of being courageous, but it's less that. It's like most things are not as scary as you think it is. And I would say that's an advice for myself at this stage. Like, I mean, there's so many limiting beliefs, probably you guys as well, along the way that you have overcome. And looking back, you're like, nah,
It wasn't that hard.
why was I so scared?
Yeah.
And I feel like that's very important because there's going to be so many moments of that. So that's an advice I'm giving myself now.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's probably where I'll be going. Like the first instinct that came out was
Don't doubt yourself.
Yeah, don't doubt yourself.
Yeah.
And whatever you're afraid of, it's probably way lesser. It's way less scary than you think. Like once you're done it, you'll be like, yeah. So
Yeah.
for us right now, it's like, how do we expand and sell new services? Like, oh, it's daunting. Like, what's going to happen to our company and
There's so
stuff
many
like that,
questions, yeah.
But in hindsight, all the new services we have sold, it's like, yeah, actually, it just took some time. At that point in time, it's like
Yeah.
Yeah.
this big hurdle, but yeah, it's not that bad.
I mean,
Great
in the
advice.
spirit of NFTs, just ape in.
Do
Do your research. Do your own research later, right? DYOR later. Just ape in.
So if someone's listening to this, they want to connect with you guys, email, SMS, they want to work with you guys, where can they find you? Where's the best place to follow you guys?
Yeah, absolutely. We're pretty active on social. No, actually, take that back. Not active on social. Trying to be. I hope. Chronos.agency is the place to go. You can connect with me on Joshua at Chronos.agency, and Lewis is
Same. Yeah, Lewis at Chronos
Lewis at
Agency.
Chronos.agency. Yeah.
Perfect.
Awesome. Thanks so much, guys, for making it out to this. I had a fucking awesome time, and I hope
was
we
great.
provide a lot of value for the people that are listening.
Hope so.
Awesome. Thanks, guys.
Appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
See ya.
Peace.
Thanks for tuning in to another episode of the 4Media Uncut podcast. If you want to work with us, learn with us, or even join the team and be a part of what we're doing at 4Media Marketing, just go to our website. It's 4media.marketing. No .com, no .net, .marketing, because that's all we do around here. And most importantly, share this with a friend wherever you're listening to or watching this on. Please hit that share button, send it over to a friend, someone else that you think will get value out of this. It would mean the world to us.
And if you're watching on YouTube, make sure you like this video and comment down below any suggestions for future guests. And if you're on Apple Podcasts, please rate this 5 stars and leave us a review there. That helps us tremendously in the algorithm world. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you on the next episode of 4Media Uncut Podcast.